All right, sorry everybody for getting a little bit of a late start today, but whatever we miss from this first session, we will certainly watch it again. You know, we'll certainly watch whatever we missed. I was in the middle of something and I just couldn't get to start on time today, and I really do apologize for that. Welcome to the channel. My name is Greg. I will be your tour guide today for Sunday, June 23rd, year of our Lord 2024. Flight Sim Expo 2024. And, oh, it might be good if I typed in, actually, Sunday, right? But Sunday, that's today. I'll fix that later. Anyways, let's get into this. Please consider subscribing, liking, commenting, hitting the thumbs up, notifying yourself, becoming a member, and also super chatting, super thanks. Best kind of a nation is a donation. So let's go ahead and let's get this rolling here. They're building a PC right now. Let's finish watching this. And then we will pick up on VAT Sim. You're never alone after that. I do have to break away for a little bit around dinner time to get dinner together for my family. But I will be putting up whatever we don't see. By then, I will be putting up later today. You know, streaming it later today. All right, I'm going to shut up here.
We future-proof the builds. We put higher wattage power supplies in there. The motherboards we're building on have 4 RAM slots. So if you wanted to add RAM down the road, you can do that as well. What happens of those out-of-box experiences, once again, they're okay. But when you go to upgrade those, hey, I'm changing my GPU out. Well, what power supply you have? A 450. Well, that's not going to work. It becomes a domino effect of upgrades, right? We get flack for it. It's just because some people are like, well, you're selling computers. Don't you want returning customers? We would rather be that, that brand that gives you what you pay for. And then in turn, if you want to upgrade down the road, that we in hopes that you call us, right? Because we don't like that. We've seen a very huge gap in the market with these PCs that are coming into us and getting fixed. And they want, you know, we're the bad guy because we're just trying to sell them something. But in a sense, what they want, the upgrades that they want and need, more RAM, higher GPU, can't run off the power supply they have. So great question. That definitely, I'll touch a little bit more on that, but power supplies definitely come into play, and they're often just like the last part to pick out. They're like, yeah, whatever, just throw that on there. You're gonna see a lot more 1,000-watt PSUs. 850s is probably the starting range. 650s, all that stuff's still gonna exist, but as the 50 series cards come out, I mean, 40 series 4090 GPU runs max 600 watts, Brandon?
Yeah, so the 4090 is 600 watts, some 4080s around like 450.
Think of that. I mean, that's just your GPU, right? So like, take that in consideration, and we don't expect a lot of people to know that, but that's information that we release to you guys saying, hey, you know, the specs you picked out are gonna work, but we would highly recommend going with a bigger power supply. And on our website, we have pre-made, fabricated builds that are already ready. You have 3 flight sims that are on there, you have a couple racing sims, or you can go in and literally just build your own computer and kind of play around with it and test it out, or call us. We're open 7 days a week. All of us are there Monday through Friday till about 5 p.m. Eastern time. But you can call us, leave us a message. I have some cards left. I really didn't bring a lot, but I have some cards left. You guys can take a picture of it and email me with any questions you got. Don't feel like you have to buy a computer off us if you got some questions. We'd love to help you guys out. So, yes, we do ship internationally. Yep. Right now we're running a promo, a free domestic shipping. Don't hate me. Inside right now. But yeah, we'll also touch a little bit on that. We don't make money off shipping. We're not the company to say, hey, you bought a PC off us, it's $300 to ship, and in turn it's 60 bucks. Shipping to us. We're not in the market to make money off shipping. We sell PCs, so.
Can you recommend any websites or blogs to keep updated on the latest technology regarding PCs and gaming PCs in particular?
Yes, so the question is, can you recommend any blogs or websites to keep up to date on gaming, technology. There's a couple that I might recommend that I frequent fly. The Verge is one. It's a really good one. I'm well endeavored in some Reddit posts. But you can check out our website. We update it frequently. We don't have any blogs, but we do release a lot of information on there. We do make educational videos too. We have a TikTok. We have a YouTube. We have an Instagram. We have a Twitter. So we're well into the social media ecosystem. So I think I had one close up front here. Yes, sir.
For shipping or moving computers, do you recommend keeping the graphics card installed or pulling?
Great question. Gentleman asked, when you're shipping or moving computers, do you recommend keeping the GPU installed? Nowadays, I would say absolutely not. Take it out. Excuse me. So of the 10 PCs we shipped here for exhibitors to use, all the graphics cards were out of the PCs. Less room for error, right? Because it is clipped in. You think about that, it's very thin. It's very thin, right? So that the piece goes in right there, the teeth connect to the motherboard, and it gets clipped in. But think about in shipping, no matter how much you pack on the bottom or the top, if it gets dropped in the exact same right spot, that'll hinge itself and break. So we'd always recommend kind of inserting it out and then shipping it that way. Now, if you're moving from house to house or whatever like that, you should be fine. And it's okay to turn the PC actually on its back. That's okay. We have normally, it's done?
It's done. I just wanted to show
Man, we got 3 minutes to spare. But it has to turn on. Don't clap yet. Hold on. Don't give him that much, guys. Hold on. It's got to turn on. Right? We built a car, but it's got to start. But yeah, this is normally mounted. You can vertically mount a graphics card. Have you ever seen that? So this right here would be turned, this whole thing would be turned up, so the fans would be facing us now. And we get a question a lot of times, is their performance better that way? It's just aesthetically pleasing. Oh, there it is. Nice. So it's colorful, it's jazzed up, it's nice, and then we'll kind of do its cycle fans here. So all the fans can be controlled, like I said, with a motherboard or even like a little remote control as well. So, all right, 2 minutes to spare. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You just talked about taking the GPU and mounting it.
Vertical, yep. So there's a special bracket that gets made. So hypothetically, this is the GPU. It would go up and sit like this, but the bracket would have to be, we don't have one here, I do apologize, but it would sit like this. If you come to the booth, I have plenty of pictures. I would say 9 out of 10 times we vertical mount GPUs. Wouldn't you say, Brandon?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with this, but these graphics cards nowadays, if they're even white, because people chase that all white look or that all black look. Great question. How do you connect it if it's 90 degrees off of the motherboard, he asked. There's an extension cable. Does not impact anything, despite what you read on Reddit. Does not impact any performance. They've done testing on testing on testing of the GPU. Matter of fact, we think it's a little bit better for thermals, but we will not go into that. Yes, sir.
So it seems to me right now, talking about thermals, that the GPU fans are blowing down and your case fans are blowing up. Is that not ineffective?
So the fans are actually they're actually blowing upwards. So the fans you're getting straight fresh air coming up, going through the graphics card heatsink, so it's going upwards, and then it gets pushed out the front of it, and then which it gets exhausted to the back and the other back, so it goes out both ways. So all the hot.
Doesn't the GPU have fans?
Yes, but they don't run all the time. They only run when they need to be. So when they do run, it's still sticking that cold air and just shooting it straight up.
But your GPU is still blocking that airflow. The air is coming in from underneath the case and the GPU is blocking that.
It's not blocking it because it actually has holes in the top. You'll see when you come over, so it all goes through it. Great question, though. Yep. Yes, sir.
You recommend a monitor with a high refresh rate versus a TV, which is
Gentleman asked, do we recommend a high refresh rate monitor versus, a TV, what a lot of people use nowadays? Loaded question. I would say, are you utilizing the PC for flight sim and gaming? Because you can get both. And I believe that a lot of companies, Asus has stepped into the realm of making 42 to 45 inch gaming monitors. I would personally recommend that if it fits inside your budget, because that is going to be two birds, one stone. Like, you're going to get the TV aspect, but you're also going to get that high refresh rate. I believe they start at 165 refresh rate, all the way up to 240. So great question. I would just say personal preference. Yeah, if you're gaming, always monitor. We always tell our customers, we can sell you the PC. We don't sell monitors, it's just too of a competitive scene for us. But, oh, the peel. Oh, he did the peel. People like the peel, man. We should have slowed that down. We got 50 seconds left, but. See, want to leave it for the end customer. All right, no, we'll leave the front one.
Yeah, I'll leave the front one, definitely.
Before we end, we had a question online. What are the full system specs that you just put together today? So if they wanted to recreate exactly what you built, what would they need to get?
Perfect. So what we built is a
14600K
Yep.
i5 with a RTX 3080 Ti, which has plenty of video memory. We could, the pricing is quite a bit different from like 30 series and 40 series, so we wanted to optimize the price for this build to have the most video memory possible. Instead of getting, say, like a 4070, I think a 3080 Ti is still outperforming that. So that, we have 32 gigs of DDR5 RGB, 360 millimeter deep cool AIO, Z790 gigabyte Aorus motherboard, and a 1 terabyte Gen 4 NVMe, which is going to have the fastest speeds. There's Gen 5 out, but that will also steal lanes from your CPU.
And this build will be on our website later today as well, so they can actually go to viraltech.com, VYRALTEQ.com. Brandon's head's in the middle of it. You can't see it, but there you go. So you can check that out on there. Yes, sir.
On pricing, what's the lowest and the highest price computer you've ever sold, and do you take in trade-ins?
Lowest and highest PC we ever sold, and do we take in trade-ins? I would say if you are local to Dayton, Ohio, we would consider it, but shipping it in, we don't really have a market for that stuff. Lowest PC we built, I think, is around 1,600. Highest PC we built, they just finished a video rendering
AI
24090s,
PC. Yeah, 24090s.
$12,000.
$12,000.
Yeah.
So.
Yep, we just got back from, we just built 5 computers for T-Pain. He's a rap artist, Atlanta, Georgia. We did an install at his house about 3 weeks ago, so it was really fun. So we're very, very blessed to have some really high-profile celebrity builds, which is really fun too. So some turnkey, going to their house and installing it, so that's always fun.
How about what you just built?
One we just built, secret price. Just joking. That'd probably be around 2,800 to 3,000. Yep. I think that's it. Oh, one more.
Keep a computer on 24/7 or turn it off when you're not using it. What do you recommend?
So question is, do we keep the computer on 24/7 or turn it off when you're not using it? Depends if you're mining Bitcoin. And it can heat your house. So loaded question, but I would highly recommend turning it off when you're not using it. Yep. So last but not least, guys, if you got more questions, please come over here. I don't want to run over so the people over here don't get a chance to get on here, but stop by the booth and please enter to win this beautiful PC. I really, really appreciate your guys' time and effort today. We will be back next year, wherever that may be, and we might even have a PC building class. I was talking with Evan, so we're going to work out logistics behind that, maybe give a little bit more in-depth. I think it'd be really neat. So my name's Austin, this is Brandon, this is Tasha. We thank you for your time today. Stop by the booth, guys.
All right. So that was building a PC live. Let's let me see what time it is. If it's time for Now we got a little bit of time before the next one. So I actually missed like the first like 45 minutes of this, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring up um, the beginning of this, because I don't think that. Let me see what time the next one starts. I think the next one starts at like at the 30 mark. Let's see here. Yeah, it doesn't start until 10:30 there, so that's 20 minutes. So we can catch up a little bit of we can catch a little bit of the beginning. All right, let's see here. International flight. All right, let's catch a little bit of what we missed. And then at 10:30, you know, with it a couple of minutes before 1:30 my time, we'll switch over and we'll start the VATSIM live one. Well, you know, this might not let me play it so soon afterwards. I'll tell you what, let's just watch the first 20 minutes of the Microsoft development again. This one was really cool yesterday. Actually, we'll watch here we go. We'll watch from here.
The clicker is, yep, slow.
I will try it. Not that I'm better. Maybe the battery's empty.
Yeah, possibly, of course. So this was about 18 months ago that we started on this project. So we've been into this for quite a while, and obviously when we started, we were also aware that there's already a project out there which is very popular. It's a freeware project called We Love VFR, which is done by. That's right. It's basically a husband and wife team from Poland, and they've been actually doing a similar kind of project or had a similar goal since the release of Microsoft 2020. So we reached out to them and asked them whether they wanted to join the project, and they were very excited to do that. And so we are partnering with Puff in Flight, which is the name of that company, and we'll together work on this obstacle database. And to give you an idea of the scope that's involved, thank you. So these are just a few of the data points, actually, of one of these obstructions. So these are, like I said, tall masts, antenna, and it's more like 500,000 individual objects across the globe, so a lot of them. And that obviously presents a number of large challenges as well. So first of all, there are obviously published databases for some of these obstructions, but they're often very inconsistent in terms of their quality, especially the kinds of data points or parameters that we require, which is basically an exact location, given that Microsoft Flight Simulator is orthophotography based, so you would actually see the footprint of the individual objects on the ground. So if it's 100 meters left or right or even further, then that is already not a very good outcome. And then the same thing is that even the basic parameters like height or type are often not really very accurate and correct. So the first challenge for us was to basically find all the available data and then sift through them in terms of quality, what we can retain, what has to be replaced, what has to be checked. And so this is basically a very large database-driven project. So we are not talking about creating individual models for each of these antenna, which is obviously not possible if you're talking about 500,000 or more objects, but rather we build a database, and for each of these points, each of these structures, which as many as parameters that describe the type, shape, height, color, the different types of lights. And then we have a library of models and objects, parts of objects, that will then basically assemble, pick the most relevant and similar object type and build basically these objects into scenery. Next slide, please. And so these are just more kind of similar slides that show the number of objects involved. And I do want to point out, even though that typically in these cases, most of the data points are in Europe and in North America and perhaps Oceania, we are striving to make this a truly global product, which means, or feature of the new simulator, I should say. And this means that we have actually paying attention to all the smaller countries and African, Asian countries everywhere. So we are striving to have a consistent global data set that then will build actually the antenna and other obstructions across the globe. Thank you. So we don't have any direct screenshots to show you yet, but we have just a few towards the end here, a couple of examples of before and after. So this is what it currently looks like. This is the power plant in the simulator, and then afterwards with the cooling towers and the chimneys and associated visual effects. And then this screenshot shows you the diversity of antennas. So we're not going to place the same object, as I mentioned, everywhere, but rather we have our database, and the database will actually inform what kind of objects we will place. And so even a grouping of antenna will represent the real world as closely as possible. So we do believe that this is a major step forward for flight simulation in general for us, but also personal for me. I think it's fascinating that this is actually an example of how flight simulation drives the development of a database that doesn't even exist today for commercial aviation. So the consistency, the quality, the accuracy, that is our goal, and we hope to achieve that. And this will be incorporated in the core sim for both 2024 and 2020. All right, thank you very much. Enjoy the show.
Well, thank you, Holger. We're way over time, so I'm gonna, yeah. Hey, Evan, sorry. I don't know where you are. Aircraft partners. So we've announced a bunch, but we are striving to work with the best. And here's a new announcement for today. And we have another speaker. Raimund Kuhlmann is here.
Thank you, Jörg. Hi, guys. First of all, thank you to this awesome community. You're the best, really. It says Raymond Kuhlmann, I think, but you know me better as Scott Gravel, probably. And I'm coming here and show you a few cool things. Now, you've seen this wonderful aircraft. It is designed from scratch again, the Optica. Beautiful aircraft observation. You're gonna love it in VR. It's great. This is our team. Fresh photo. They're sitting over here. We all love you. You know that. This, now, gliders. We love gliders. You know, Got Friends loves gliders. But we needed something more. We needed world-class avionics in modern gliders that really that can take your glide to the next level, basically. You needed a flight computer that takes Microsoft Flight Simulator flight plans and converts them into popular gliding tasks that do live calculations to waypoints, give you arrival height, everything you use all the way to finish. So that opens the way for Xbox as well to finally use this. So we're getting a real good flight computer, the LX family. We roped in the support from Ian, also better known as B21. He's been doing this for a long time also. It's designed from scratch, wonderful flight computer, very capable, highly configurable. You have dark mode, light mode, and you can turn off all this data visualization that you see. You can configure it completely to have more data or more map visibility. It's really up to you, and that really will help your glide to plan everything better with all the terminals, everything. Super, super capable. It's too much to cover right now, but trust me, it's going to be wonderful. It's a suite, so it's not just the LX navigation computer, it is also an LX Vario, and not what you have now. This is going to be a very, very potent one. It's complete. It provides all the speeds that you expect. So it has netto, total, speed to fly, MacReady. It has various pages. There's a wind speed page. There's a, as you can see here, artificial horizon page as well, settings. And because it's a suite, they work together. So if you set your metrics for one, it will be automatically the same in the other. So this is a lovely suite you will find in the gliders that are coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator. Aircraft announcement. You ready for it? I hear a lot of guessing online. Yeah, you don't want me to keep you waiting, is it? Okay. Here's one. Now, some of you may wonder, what is this thing? It's a wonderful glider. It's kind of a luxury glider. It is a side-by-side, self-launching glider that has a combustion engine, a Rotax 914. It is the STEMI S12. Hard to afford in the real world. This thing is very, very expensive, but who cares? We're here. We can all fly it now. So it's a beautiful machine. We went all out for realism. The solar panels you see are actually working, taking into account the position of the sun, the latitude you're at. So it really absorbs the right amount of solar power to help charge your systems if your engine is off. Wonderful detail, I think. It looks really good. Avionics, they will be here, the LX navigation suite as well. Very, very functional. Even the choke is working on it. So yeah, we went all out here. You're gonna love it. It glides really majestically, as you would expect. It's 25 meters. It will not be as nimble as a 15. The flap system is fully functional in a way that you would expect for gliders, because when you select a flap on a glider, it's a bit different from a normal aircraft. On a glider, a flap tends to settle you in a certain speed, and it does exactly that. So if you go for your full negative flaps, it tries to settle above 100 knots, and if you go down, it tries to go slow. So it is like your gears in a car, as it works in the real thing. It's beautiful. Very, very stable aircraft because it's so big. Back to you, York.
All right, another partner announcement. I just said inventor, and then I said, I'm just not going to say anything. The guy can talk for himself. Here we go.
Hello, welcome all you Microsoft Flight Simulator fans. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Mike Patey. I like to build wild, crazy flying machines, from backcountry bush planes that carry motorcycles to my legendary bush plane called Draco, which unfortunately I crashed, but I'm bringing it back bigger, better, more power. Over 1,000 horsepower jet engine turning propeller to fly and build the craziest bush plane ever made. That is now underway in my shop, but for those of you who love Flight Simulator, this aircraft is Draco X, the new, bigger, more improved backcountry radical bush plane. And with the modern technology we have today, you get to fly it on simulator while I build it in the shop. The technology allows us to put in that over 1,000 horsepower, the bigger wings, all the modifications I'm doing in real life, and you're gonna fly it first because Microsoft is paired with me to bring that to you early. So welcome to Draco X. Follow on my channel, MikePatey.com is my website, Mike Patey YouTube channel. Enjoy the build, fly the plane while I finish the bigger, badder, better Draco X. Love you guys, back to work.
And here it is. And who's making this thing? Yes. All right, and then we have one last thing. Oh, yeah, I wanted to say, so just to repeat, built for the community, with the community. I hope you saw that today. There's a Sobo, working title, and a whole bunch of other partners, and it's going to make the best them ever. So I'm very grateful for these partnerships. here we are now. I think we added a few. I think we're now at 18 or something. So there's another 10 to come for the coming months. Fun is not over. Oh yeah. Here comes the one more thing. Something I'm very happy to announce. Now, close. Asobo's most complex plane ever made. Seb, come on. I'll click for you. Whoa. You can have mine.
Yeah. So, have you guessed what it is?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh. So we can see a lot of detail on this airplane. Yeah.
It's awesome. Just say it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. So we'll be part Boeing 737 MAX 8 will be part of the base simulator. Yeah, 2024.
Alrighty, that was it. Thank you. I hope you had fun. I hope it was interesting. And I hope you feel like we do, that the best days for flight simulation are still ahead. The sky's calling. I'll see you all there.
Before we all go, I know there are, well, first of all, there were some amazing reactions.
Sorry, I needed to start the video one more time. Yeah? Okay. We will have an instant replay feature also. This goes a step further, enabling you to quickly review critical moments like landings and takeoff without interrupting your session. You can, thank you. Thank you. You can replay the last minutes of your performance, available in any time. Control it easily via with the time slider. And you can, if you want, you can push on take plane control, take plane control button. In that way, you can sorry. Okay. In that way, you can take the control of your plane. Another feature is Ghost Plane. Ghost Plane is a feature that allow you to use a ghost, and a ghost plane will follow your flight path in real time. And in that way you can enjoy the ghost plane, and you can also customize this experience, trying to configure the distance offset, the degrees angle offset, and the delay offset between the maneuvers that from the user plane and the ghost plane. Okay. Another feature will be Play AI, that enable flight formation at another level in replay mode. So you can populate your skies with even more aircraft, and with the different. It's a different way to replay, because with this feature you can replay your flight path previously recorded with an AI plane. And last but not least, we are introducing also the FCR embedded fly-by camera only for recorded flights. Thank you for your continued support and for joining us today. And thank you to Microsoft and Azobo for this big opportunity for me.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's a really cool feature, but you know, maybe we could have had somebody that spoke a little better English. I mean, I understand, you know, it's not his first language, but if you're doing a presentation for millions of people worldwide, might be a good idea to do it so people can actually understand everything. All right. You're never alone. That's kind of creepy. Let's see what hopefully VATSIM's not as creepy as their title. Their title lets on to be. So we got about 2 minutes. So far there's been some really cool stuff that's come out. That ATC, that AI ATC deal that's coming out soon was mind-blowing. I mean, like, that was crazy. You just talk. I don't remember where in the seminar it was. It might have been, was it Friday night? I don't remember when it was. I'll have to go back and look through everything. But yeah, that stuff was really cool. You just talk like we're talking now, and the ATC responds to you. The cabin crew has their own personalities depending on like what time of day it is. You know, they'll either be like more professional or more loose. Like we heard the cabin crew talking yesterday about how the pilot is doing some creative flying, trying to get up to 36,000 feet. It was funny. And the AI worked. It was awesome. Different, you know, dialect, or, you know, 14 different languages it's available, different, you know, different personalities for the ATC people like it is in real life. Yeah, man, it was pretty cool stuff, man. Very exciting what's coming out in the very near future. But yeah, we missed a little bit of the PC build, so I'm gonna replay that later on today, and then I do need to take a break around probably like 2 or 3 hours from now. I need to take a break for a little bit so I can get some dinner together for my kids, and I need to run up to the vape shop, and then when I come back, I'll put on the remainder of the expo and then pick up anything that we missed. While I fly my de Havilland DHC-7 to Antarctica, since I'm in my
All right, hello everybody. How are we doing today?
British.
Yeah, good.
Antarctica
Everyone's up and at 'em.
livery.
Good to see it. At least you're all here. So excited to get to share this presentation with you today. My name is Brandon Wenning, and I am a Deputy Division Director for the VATSIM United States Division. And I also do some work in our pilot training department for the whole VATSIM network. So I want to get a quick feel of the room, see what our audience is all about today. So let's see, by a show of hands, who has never heard of VATSIM before? Never heard of it before. Yeah, thanks, guys. Okay, we got a couple. How about some folks who have heard of VATSIM before, but you've never really taken the plunge? Yeah, a lot more hands. That's what I thought we'd see. That's perfect. And now to give you all some comfort, let's see who is currently a VATSIM member in the room. Perfect, love to see it. So we've got everyone at least raise their hand. Thanks for participating. But here's the last question. Who in here loves aviation? Yeah, that's our common ground. I love it. So I want to give you a brief introduction about me and my history in aviation on the network before we dive into what VATSIM is all about. So I've been a member of VATSIM for about 8 years now, and I have been a staff volunteer for over 7 years. I have volunteered all across the nation in a variety of different locations, such as our Houston Arctic, Fort Worth, Denver, and most recently at the VAT USA division level. And I'll get into more about what all that means in a bit, so don't worry if you don't get it now. My current, in the real world, VATSIM had a huge impact on me, and it actually drove me to get my private pilot license, and a couple years ago even completed my instrument rating. I am really passionate about teaching and educating everybody in the aviation space. It's had a huge impact on my life. I'm big on giving back. That's why I'm up here today. That's why we're all here. So I'm very interested in currently in the pursuit to get my CFI, Certified Flight Instructor license. Born and raised a Hoosier, I currently live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I've been a lifelong musician. That's the fun fact for you all. Couple of pictures on the screen to actually show some of the adventures. Just recently went with one of my friends, Harry, to Sporties, and a couple of very cool photos. Life in the air is just better, right? We all know that, whether it's on the sim or in real world. And it's just had, again, a huge impact on my life. You know, done a lot of cross countries, a lot of cool flying adventures. But one that really sticks out to me that I want to kind of share with y'all is the very first flight I took, my discovery flight. I asked my flight instructor if I could take the radios. And he looked at me like I was nuts. He was like, "What are you talking about? You're gonna get us a phone number. This is gonna go terribly." And I had been on VATSIM for many, many years at that point. And I was air traffic controller, I was a pilot, I knew what I was talking about. And because of the comfort level of me talking with real people on the other line in a very safe environment that VATSIM is, I was able to surprise my flight instructor to the point where he thought the next step was gonna be a simulated engine out. So discovery flight was very interesting. You know, again, real world and VATSIM can tie together. So no matter what your interest is in here, sitting in the room, whether you just are a simulator pilot, maybe you just worry about, you know, real world aviation and you're getting into simulation, VATSIM has it all. So we're gonna get into it. The session objectives here, very plain and simple. I wanted to lay this out for you so you don't get lost and you kind of know where we're going. I want to tell you all about what VATSIM is, who makes up VATSIM, which is everybody in the room, whether you think or not. We're going to elaborate on the benefits and highlight basically what you're going to get out of this, how you can tailor your experience on our network, because there's so much to do. And then finally, we'll present you with the resources for you to leave this session today and become a VATSIM member, feel confident about where you want to go and what you want your adventure to look like. So I would like to first start off with a 5-minute video that perfectly explains what VATSIM is in the most cinematic way possible.
The Virtual Air Traffic Simulation Network, VATSIM, is the free international online network and community where flight simulator enthusiasts from all over the world can fly together and receive live air traffic control services from virtual air traffic controllers. For 2 decades, VATSIM has been the place to go for anyone that likes to add an additional level of realism and professionalism to their flight simulation experience. Let's take a look at what VATSIM is all about and how it will bring your flying experience to a new level.
Airbus 116, runway 34 right, clear for takeoff, wind variable at 6. Runway 34 right, clear for takeoff, Airbus 116.
Microsoft Flight Simulator combined with VATSIM offers the perfect environment to get used to talking on your airplane's radio and to stay sharp and focused while flying a plane.
Seattle Departure, Cessna 598 Mike Tango is 1 mile south of Renton Airport, 2,500. Cessna 172, request flight following to Painfield.
On the VATSIM network, air traffic control services for your flight are provided by trained virtual air traffic controllers. The virtual skies are divided into many virtual area control centers. These are often run by local communities that are part of the VATSIM network and that take care of the airspace above their home country. This means you'll be talking to people from all over the world. Americans when flying over the US, Brits over the UK, and Germans over Germany. And don't worry, they all speak English wherever you fly.
Alpine 317, wind 330 degrees, 5 knots, runway 26 right, clear to land.
5 Juliet 31 Bravo Hotel identified.
Descend to flight level 100.
On VATSIM, there are many events organized across the globe every week. As a pilot, you can experience the differences in air traffic control procedures when flying from Europe to America.
KLM 602, Los Angeles ground, runway 25 right, taxi via Kilo Bravo.
Or join as we simulate real-life operations at one of our major airports. As you can imagine, it can get quite busy.
Speedbird 113, Heathrow delivery, hello, cleared to New York, JFK by Compton and flight plan route. Altair 29 25 7 knots, I'm at 25 center, cleared for takeoff.
VATSIM provides many free training opportunities for Microsoft Flight Simulator users through our various pilot training programs, including personal in-airplane and classroom-based instruction from real people through authorized training organizations. From learning the basics of flying in a small propeller aircraft all the way up to managing a complex airliner. Through the various VACCs that are part of the VATSIM network, you can receive training to become a virtual air traffic controller and manage the virtual skies on VATSIM.
American 504, select to Rapid.
Connecting to VATSIM is easy. Simply decide where you want to fly, load at a parking position, open the VATSIM pilot client vPilot for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and enter your credentials. Hit connect, enter a call sign and the aircraft type you're flying, and you are ready to interact with air traffic controllers and fellow simulator pilots all over the world.
Triple delivery, Papa Del Juliet Victor Golf radio check.
VATSIM provides air traffic control services using a method called top-down air traffic control. Our volunteer air traffic controllers will provide all ATC services at airports and positions that would fall vertically below them in the real world. Top-down air traffic control on VATSIM allows our volunteer air traffic controllers to maximize the amount of pilots they interact with and allows pilots to experience full immersion with ATC at times when not every position is staffed by an individual air traffic controller.
Southwest 223, Chicago departure, radar contact, climb and maintain 15,000. Emirates 7, good morning, Dubai departure, identify, climb flight level 150.
Live air traffic control services from real-world professionals and simulation enthusiasts alike, combined with seeing other pilots connected to the VATSIM network, creates the most realistic virtual environment that simply cannot be replicated offline. VATSIM offers its members a wealth of knowledge and connections. Our members range from real-world pilots, air traffic controllers, and aviation professionals to hobbyists desiring greater immersion in virtual aviation. VATSIM members are able to harness all this experience to increase their own knowledge and enjoyment in the hobby. So if you're ready to step up your game and learn more about aviation and flying with air traffic control, don't hesitate any longer. Create your free account at vatsim.net today.
Boeing 31 Heavy, Kennedy Tower, runway 31 left, clear to land.
Yeah, hard to follow up that because my voice doesn't have a dramatic background noise behind it now, but that video is just a really quick introduction as to what you actually see as the pilot, what you get to experience on the network, and there's so many possibilities. So I know that was just a 5-minute video, that's a preview. Let's dive into it, let's talk a little bit about this more. And I do want to preface this that we will be taking questions at the end, and we also have a booth that we'd love for you to come and join us at afterwards if you have follow-up questions. So basically, let's go over what is VATSIM. So the acronym really stands for the Virtual Air Traffic Simulation Network. And what our goal is to really simulate the real-world conditions for our virtual pilots and controllers both to enjoy. This is not just a place where you're going around and you're just flying all willy-nilly. We're actually trying to produce the real-world environment, and we do a really good job of that, especially with our controllers who are getting trained under the same rules, and you'll hear the same phraseology that you would expect to hear if you were actually in the real world flying right now. This community is for aviation enthusiasts to expand their flight sim experience, and it's made up of all types of people. We have people who are real world controllers, we have airline pilots, general aviation enthusiasts, flight instructors, and just our favorite, the sim enthusiast like everyone here. We are a learning environment at its core, okay? We want to make sure that members feel that they get something out of this. You are not expected to be a professional before you join VATSIM. That is myth number one that we're breaking today. The biggest thing that we've heard even yesterday as we're going through the booth is, I've heard of VATSIM before and I don't feel like I'm prepared or I don't feel confident enough. I fly great. I know how to fly my airplane. I've flown in my simulator for years, but I don't really feel confident in talking. The only thing that you're gonna do in that regard is you gotta practice. You gotta get on, you gotta try, okay? The basics of what you need to do on VATSIM, you should know how to fly a heading, fly your altitudes, maintain control of your aircraft, and be able to understand what people are saying when they're talking to you on the radio. But if you're worried about flubbing up one little word like the or mixing up a letter, don't worry about it. Get on, practice, you will get better. It's a learning environment. This is also a great opportunity to network with those professionals that I spoke on earlier. We have a ton of communities that we're gonna dive into again of all the opportunities that this network provides everyone. Finally, I think this goes really big. It's creating lifelong friends who share the same passion as you. I've made hundreds and hundreds of friends on this network because everyone is loving aviation, everyone tries to be better. You can get into groups that you will have lifelong friends, absolutely. So it is really not a game, so to speak. Again, it is that simulation. You are seeing other real aircraft in your flight sim. So as the video displayed, you're gonna download this client and you're going to now not see AI. It's not gonna be the Microsoft Flight Simulator automatic ATC. It's real people like myself and the other controllers who are gonna be controlling you just as if real world people were doing it in the actual real thing. So I do want to move on and show you just a little bit about how many people we have. In the entire network, we have 174,000 active members across the entire world. And that's people who have used the network in the last 60 days. In our Americas region, which is basically the western half here, we have about 64,800. And for our specific division, which is just the United States here, we have 1,900 active controllers. And you can see kind of the graph on the right side of the screen. That's how the breakdown goes. VATSIM network as a whole, then we get into a region, which is a part of the world. We have 3 different ones. And with inside that, we get into divisions, which are typically our countries. Now, this is a quick graph, though. I wanted to show you about the traffic count. And as you can see, we have been very, very popular with regularly over 20,000 operations per week. And those are year-over-year estimates. You can see that we had the busiest month, actually, in VAT-USA history earlier this year in January, which was absolutely insane. Our events, our pilots were really getting into it and enjoying, and we're super happy about that because it means we're growing as a network and we're getting to more people. Obviously, in our summertime, it's nice outside. People like to go out more. So there is, you can see, typical routine drops. But let's get into VAT-USA, right? So there's 2 sides to the network, and there's a lot more, but pilots and controllers. You don't have to be exclusively one. I regularly fly on the network, and I enjoy controlling as well. But a breakdown for those who are not familiar with the United States airspace, we have 22 different centers. And this is big for us because that's how we put our rosters together. We separate our members based by the ARTCC or our centers. So when you join VATSIM, you get to go and be a part of one of these Arctics, and you specialize in this area. And you become a ground controller, and then a tower controller, an approach and center, and you keep working your way up, just like the video said earlier. So it's a great opportunity for you to get familiar as both a pilot. If you like a particular airspace, you'll be hearing from the same air traffic controllers working that airspace. If you're interested in learning how to control, you also don't have to worry about controlling the entire United States all at once. So we do have a map available, and this was taken just 1 hour ago here, of what we have up right now. So as you can see, we have plenty of our eastern coast in the United States up right now. A lot of people flying, as you can see all the planes. And take note of some of the airports have little designations on them, such as like the G, the T, and the A, and that's telling you what air traffic control is online right now. One of the trickier things, that's not too tricky when you think about it, is who do I contact when I come up in the sim, right? You're popping up in San Francisco and you want to take a long haul all the way out to New York. Who do you call? Well, right now, we look for the San Francisco airport, and it looks like there's nothing online. There's no designation of ATC at that airport. And then you keep zooming out, right? There was no ground, there's no tower, there's no approach, there's no center. So you would just work on the actual designated CTAF frequency, and you would be announcing your intentions, however weird it is to be announcing on CTAF at a Class Bravo airport, for other pilots who are flying on VATSIM to know what you're doing. However, if we were to have been taking off out of Seattle right now, you would have gone on to Seattle Center, who will be providing your top-down services all the way for taxi. So as weird as it might be, you do call Seattle Center for ground, for your taxi, for takeoff, for departure, and all the way, they'll take you all the way until the edge of their airspace. So we do have that map available. It's displayed on our website. It's also at our booth. So if you're looking more for those resources, please come visit us after. So now we know what VATSIM is. What's the point, right? What are we doing here? Why should I join? What do we have to offer? And thank you, Jared. That was a great question for me. The VATSIM is not a product. It is truly the epicenter of flight sim, because everything here can be brought into the network. Which flight sim you use is up to you. We don't care if you're using Microsoft Flight Simulator, X-Plane, or any of the others. We don't care what plane you're flying. That's for you to choose. That's what makes this community great, is you get to custom make your experience, and then you get to share it with everybody around you. So we have unique opportunities such as participating in events, becoming air traffic control, utilizing that we're a complete tech-based platform and we don't have real-world limitations. We have educational programs such as authorized training organizations, where if you want to learn more about being a pilot, if you want to learn how to fly that new aircraft and your simulator, or you want to keep your real-world studies going on the network, we have all of those things. We also have virtual airlines. For those of you who are really interested in going, oh man, I would love to fly like Delta with a bunch of friends, we have that. We also have Southwest Virtual is here today, and they would love to talk to you about that as well. Finally, we have virtual military and special operations. Who in here has flown a military aircraft in their sim? Couple folks? It's pretty cool, I've got to say. Getting to learn from people who are very educational on the matter, that's even cooler. So, again, let's go into a couple of these things. What is an event? What is an event? An event, we have a couple of the banners displayed right here, and that means that it's essentially a big party, all right? So everybody when you're flying and you're looking on a Friday night or even a Sunday morning, you're saying, gosh, where is the coverage? I would love to talk to some other planes, love to be around other people, and I wanna feel what it's like to do ATC. You can find all the listed events on both the VATSIM calendar and the VATUSA calendar if you're looking specifically for United States. And that's gonna list banners and event details such as airports that are being flown into. Every Friday night, we have an event called the Friday Night Ops. It's a long-standing tradition in VATUSA. So if you're ever looking for an event, every Friday we have something in the United States. And it's all different. So you look at the banners and you said, I'm gonna fly from Detroit to Las Vegas tonight because I want a long haul and Las Vegas is having an event. So a couple banners, again, all published on our website. And I want to show you guys a little bit from the ATC perspective. It's just a 30-second clip here about what happens when we have event-level traffic on VATSIM. Now, again, this is Memphis approach about 4 weeks ago in a Friday night event. And we have a lot of traffic on VATSIM. So Friday Night Ops is probably not the best idea for new pilots to go right into, as if you're not comfortable with the network or not comfortable with your skills, radio skills or flying skills yet. I would not suggest going into these because we have a lot of people. But we do control every day. Again, that map shows you what we have going on and great opportunities for you to learn and grow in whatever you're looking for. So let's talk about some of those educational opportunities here. So for a great pilot, you never stop learning, right? We've heard that before. It's on a lot of different YouTube pages and educational books. And our version of that is different flying clubs, different programs. So feel free to take some pictures of this because these are some great organizations. The Virtual USA Flying Club is essentially a general aviation flying club devised of our members. They have, I think it's over 100, 150 plus. It's even greater. 600, thank you, yeah. So it's a very big group, lots of helpful people who are both real-world CFIs and longtime general aviation enthusiasts. We have the Pilot Club, who's here today, and they'd love to talk to you about their educational programs and helping you learn how to fly on the sim, helping you learn how to be a private pilot, learning all of these cool operations. And then the last one I want to highlight for the educational opportunities there, Boston Virtual Arctic Wings. This is a self-paced course that you get to fly all around the New England area. And basically, it's kind of like a challenge. You have to complete different flights with ATC online and continue learning and growing so you become more comfortable with both your aircraft and flying on VATSIM. So a lot of things that are at your disposal to help you ease that transition into VATSIM. Again, we also have the Southwest Virtual Airline displayed here, and they are over at their table right across from the VATSIM booth. And that is if you're interested in learning about ACARs and learning about how actual, an airline operations work, that's simulated in here. Lots of VAs. I think we have over 75 plus active VATSIM VAs, so a lot of options for you. And finally, again, those special operations, those military, we have the Virtual United States Air Force for those who enjoy getting in their F-22 in the sim and flying around. We do actually have integration with them and a relationship through ATC so that you can even do some intercepts and some actual military operations live on the network in our airspace. And we treat it just as the real world would do. So a unique opportunity nonetheless. We also have educational opportunities through the VATSIM and the VATUSA division and network level. We have lots of pilot resources available for you to learn how to fly in our airspace. Maybe who in here has flown into DC, the DC area in the sim? Anybody? Yeah. You remember those really weird words like SIFRA and freeze? Yeah, that's simulated on the network now, and some pilots may not be familiar with how that actually works. It might have been one of those things that you're like, I'll just fly in anyway, it's just me. But now it's not just you, and you get to learn how that actually works in the real world, and we simulate that on the network again. Another realism level that we're happy to provide. We also have some cool social media aspects. The VAT USA team, and in partnership with Citation Max and Rob Shearman, Slant Alpha Adventures, has provided a flight across America where we are putting a video series together to help you, the brand new VATSIM member, or the new simmer, or the experienced simmer, to see what a flight on VATSIM actually looks like. It goes from Denver to Dallas Love. It's not too long, but it's devised in the manner that you can go along through it, watching in about 5 or 7 minute clips, so you can understand VATSIM on the ground, taking off, departure, cruise. What do I need to learn? What do I need to worry about? So stay tuned. Our first video just dropped yesterday of a 6-video series, so we're super excited to be releasing that. Stay tuned for it. Now let's talk about getting into the world of air traffic control. So becoming an ATC, you have to first figure out, where do you want to go? So this, because we're VAT USA and we're in the United States, I'm using that as our example. Do know this happens all over the world. You can control anywhere you want. So becoming an air traffic controller, if you've walked past our booth, we were encouraging those folks to stop and ask our controllers, how's it going? Any weird questions? If anybody's been on VATSIM before and you've gotten a weird vector or something was just like, I don't understand what is going on, 2 things. Ask a controller and learn about it, or become a controller and you'll learn, I promise. The VAT USA Academy is basically the place that you start. We want to give you guys the foundation of being a controller, learning on the other side of the mic what you have, different considerations. The language is still the same, right? Craft is still a craft clearance, except we're giving it and you're receiving it. The VAT USA Academy prepares you for that, and it's a self-paced learning course. At the end of that, you take a quiz. And after you pass that quiz, you will then select one of those 22 facilities I talked about earlier, Anchorage, Honolulu, Denver, Houston, wherever you want to control, that's where you start. And then you do your practical training. You'll work with instructors and mentors like myself and others who will be teaching you how to actually control in the manner that is prescribed per the real world FAA. So it's a long road, it's a hard road, but it's a rewarding one. I remember when I got my S1, it was, oh my gosh, I was so scared. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing and this is crazy. And the instructor said, you got it, don't worry. Remember, it's just fake planes. But it was a cool opportunity because it was my first time out of the school setting where it was like someone was like, here are the keys to the car, like go for it and see. And that level like pushed me to keep going and going and going, and now somehow I'm standing up here talking to y'all. So it's a great opportunity if you're wanting something new. And again, you don't just have to be a pilot. You don't just have to be a controller. VATSIM has both. Please do both. If you're considering it, try it out. If you don't like it, you don't have to continue with it. Give it a shot. Now, the other way you can impact on the network is I love to volunteer and I love to give back, and that's what I have been doing for 7 years. Like I mentioned earlier, I was a mentor, I was an instructor. I've worked on our event staff. I've worked in our training, I've worked on administration, and now my job puts me directly in charge of all 22 facilities in the United States. So there's a lot of different opportunities that you have to give back. Again, Arctic Division Network staff, training, mentor, traffic management. Just a real quick show of hands again, VATSIM pilots currently who have flown into one of our events. Flown into an event, yeah. Has it ever been crazy and you've gotten like a ground stop or a delay where they said, yeah, you're not gonna take off for an hour and a half? Yeah, we have to make sure that our airspace is secure and safe as well, because we're not in the business of just saying, whatever, just go for it, who cares? We want to have that realism factor. So sometimes when things get really, really busy, we have to zoom out, look at the entire United States, much as the FAA does, and we have to say, well, DC, we might have to give you a little bit of a ground stop to get into New York. It's really busy right now. Things like that. So again, getting in the ATC side, you'll start to see why some of the things happen. As a pilot, I'd be frustrated if I was sitting there for an hour and a half, but because I understand why it's happening, I was like, okay, I'll just disconnect and be back in an hour. So we also have a lot of other opportunities. If anybody's interested in joining like social media team, we have a lot of opportunities. We partner with streamers, we partner with our other media partners here, graphic designers, content creators. We're always looking for opportunities to continue spreading the love for aviation and the opportunity to continue learning always. Finally, we're a tech platform. If you're a computer programmer, software engineer, you know anything about tech, we're always looking for people to help out. That's yet another way that you can contribute, because I guarantee you the VATSIM network has a vast impact on new young children who are interested in getting into careers in aviation, and also the more experienced folks who are looking to continue their journey after their real world journey has ended on that. It's a great opportunity, and I tell you, it's just one that you want to pursue. I do want to give some tips and tricks, finally, to kind of bestow some knowledge upon you of what I've found over the 8 years of being a member and 7 as a staff. Be concise on the radio and know when to speak. So if you're just tuning into a frequency and you start talking right away, you may not know if someone else was talking before, you may not have gotten if they were responding, etc. Give it a couple seconds, make sure you're on the right frequency, and then ring up, and you don't have to be long-winded. It's okay to pause and think before you hit the button, right? American 248, flight level 350, come on, let's go, right? We gotta push traffic, we gotta go. So if you just thought about it, American 248, flight level 350 over Wichita. Boom, that's all I needed. Use realistic call signs, right? This is a simulation. You guys have the opportunity. There's no penalty for saying you're Delta 1492 on the network, okay? Be Delta 1492 for the day. And if you do use a unique call sign that's not something that's really used in the real world, when you file your flight plan on VATSIM, there's a remarks section there. Pop your call sign in there. Call sign Blue Streak, call sign whatever, right? Double check your routes for accuracy. Now this is huge, okay? We see this a lot, more than ever. There are lots of YouTube videos out there and other manuals that say, yeah, you don't need those discontinuities. You can just X those out and you can go direct the final approach fix. No, especially in an event, that will get you in trouble. So double check your routes. Make sure it is what you filed. Make sure you have everything on board. Make sure your altitudes are in check, your crossing restrictions. Anybody flown out of Denver before in the sim? Anybody? Yeah? Okay. So anybody who's flown out of Denver knows that there's a 10,000 foot ceiling on your initial climb. And for people who break through that, we have arrivals that come directly over on the downwind at 11. It makes controllers really happy when those get really close together, okay? So make sure to also be flexible on your runway assignments. Another thing I've heard is I had a pilot once who called me. I was working Fort Worth, and they asked me what their runway was going to be in LA. And I was like, I don't even know what LA is landing. I can't even tell you what runway it would be. So it's just important to know that sometimes the runways will change. We as air traffic control really want to get your request through. We'll do everything we can to make sure that if you've got a request, if you've got a special approach, if you've got a different procedure, we try to make that happen, but ultimately sometimes we can't make it happen. But just know we're trying, right? And so I'll commonly get, I'm set up for ILS 35 left, I can't take ILS 35 right. So I'll do everything I can to get that guy on the 35 left. And what would happen if I can't is I would say, can you take 35 right? Otherwise I'm gonna have to spin you around or do some other vectoring. And that's just the being flexible part, right? Like I will do whatever I can to make your experience better, but sometimes you're gonna have to make a decision on what you want. So be prepared, be flexible. Finally, ask questions. Don't bite off more than you can chew and don't feel like you're alone, right? The title of this presentation was VATSIM, You're Never Alone, because you see all the communities, all the opportunities that you have on our network, that there's no way that if you get involved and are enjoying this and are actively participating, that you won't have a buddy, you won't have an instructor, you won't have somebody that you can go, I'm confused, how do I do this? We have 174,000 members, like I said. I guarantee you someone can answer your question. So don't feel like you have to know it all. Ask those questions. And best of all, if you're flying into airspace and you're with a controller and you're a little nervous about the arrival or you have a question and you don't feel like you want to ring up the push to talk and talk over voice, VATSIM has the ability for you to direct message other pilots and other air traffic controllers directly through our client so you can ask those questions. And I, as an air traffic controller, can answer that when I have time and I'm not holding the push to talk button down and help you out, okay? So that's a great feature as well. Feel like you're empowered to ask those questions. Because again, we want you to be successful. I hope so do you. So finally, I just wanted to give another big plug for our VATSIM booth over there. We have a great organization. We have great people. We have people who have dedicated years and years and years to this, who just absolutely love the community and keep coming back. This is something that you guys want to be a part of because, again, there are so many opportunities. If you're a real-world student pilot right now, and you're worried about radios, and maybe you're like, oh, well, the flight sim isn't gonna have me feel what it's like to be in the seat in a steep turn. Yes, that's true, right? But what if you're worried about the radios? What if you're worried about procedures? If you're in IFR training right now, this is a great opportunity. It's not just simulation. This has real-world impacts. But this has the ability for just the casual streamer, it should not be scary for you. The network covers those all. So I want to close with thanking you all for being here. You know, we are just people at VATSIM, right? Controllers can kind of get that like scary, you know, I don't want to make them mad kind of thing, but we're just people. We want to get you to where you're going. Ask us questions. Be prepared. And again, the most important part is have fun and keep learning. So I want to thank you all. I want to ask for questions. There's 2 microphones up here. I'm sure we've got some. We've got about 8 minutes for Q&A here. So if you've got questions, feel free to just pop up to the mic. But other than that, thank you all so much.
I've got a quick question. I've been on VATSIM for 6 months. It's absolutely fantastic, and it's taken my level of realism way up. But in the exhibit booth, I visited a couple of displays where they were trying to sell AI-generated ATC, and I'm wondering if there's an opportunity with VATSIM working with some of these companies, because as you know, sometimes you can take off from an airport with ATC coverage. By the time you get to your destination, there's no coverage, and it tends to be a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, it's crazy how like artificial intelligence has gotten into our world and all over the place. You know, we don't currently have a plan set forth. You know, that's something that we could bring back to the VATSIM team. Like, I'm not aware of any plans that I can, you know, currently say right now, but there are definitely opportunities and different avenues which you can take when you're doing flight sim. You know, we're all about, you know, the real people getting that real experience right now. So when you're getting online, it's not AI traffic, it's not AI controllers. You know, you're talking with real people, and that's just the model that we sell. Yes, sir.
Hi, I've got a couple of questions actually.
Yeah, sure.
So I've been VATSIM for a while. It's great, but very nerve-wracking when you start. And I've learned loads from a lot of the controllers, really, really helpful. But there's a tendency for them to talk really, really quick. And when you're trying to write everything down, because for some reason, when you're on VATSIM, you can't remember anything anybody says. When there's a lot of instructions, you can't write it down quick enough.
Yeah.
And bizarrely, I can understand and remember other people's instructions, but never my own, which is a bit of a snag. But I also wondered if, very similar to what you were just saying in the last question actually, is, well, I'll plan a route looking for where controllers are. Not very often in the States, but trying to get into there a little bit more, which is a little bit difficult because it's all just a little bit different. But by the time I've planned a route and filed the flight plan and got going, the controllers are dropping off or changing. I just wondered, are there any plans to have some kind of indication as to how long a controller might be on, or some indication, because I might fly a different flight route if I knew the controller wasn't going to be on?
Yeah, both great questions. So let me address the first one there. So when you feeling, you don't remember your call sign even sometimes, right? And you're like, okay, the controller just gave me instructions and I didn't hear it, or it was too fast and it wasn't understandable. What do I do? And the honest question and the honest answer is you ask the controller to repeat or ask them to slow down. I can very quickly get into a very quick, fast-paced mode, especially working in a busy event. And I have had people, it translates into the real world. My flight instructor has told me, he was like, "What did you just say?" It's like, I guarantee you ATC did not understand that over this moderate radio in this aircraft, okay? So don't be afraid to ask us to slow down or to repeat. Sometimes it's an inconvenience for us, right? You might get like, why didn't you listen the first time? You don't have to feel bad about that. That's a real world problem. It happened to me 2 weeks ago. I missed a radio switch when I was flying my little Cessna through Indianapolis International, and the controller got very mad at me. And I was like, I would much rather be safe and be doing the correct thing than assuming what you said, because I caught the end of it, but would we be real pilots and real safe? No. Repeat, take whatever on the chin and go on. You'll be safe and landing on the ground. So, so your second question was basically about like a controller schedule, is essentially, you know, basically when will we be getting offline? I know tons of times your schedule and the controllers may not always line up, right? On VATSIM, it's a volunteer organization, and most of the time people will put in their little controller info, hey, I'm gonna be logging off at this time. Sometimes they get off earlier, sometimes they get off later, you know, how are we doing that? We do have current plans in the work. We already have a network-wide controlling calendar that we're working on, and I can speak more specifically in the United States division that's something we're also working on, basically publishing, hey, Boston Center is going to be covered for these hours, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's not something that we necessarily have centralized at this current moment, but it's something I'm very, very excited to see come real soon. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Very basic question. I'm brand new. So on those maps, those airplanes, are they actual real airplanes, or are they all sims, or both?
So the map was actually, well, let's see, anybody heard of FlightAware? Yeah, everyone tracks real world aircraft? That's SimAware, okay? So that is everything on the VATSIM network. So all of those planes that were displayed are simmers like ourselves sitting at home flying on the VATSIM network.
Okay, so is there a module that actually adds the FlightAware, the actual real-time airplanes to the system?
I believe so, but I don't have it, so I wouldn't probably be the best one to answer that question. But yeah, the way you connect to the network, though, is you'll download basically our software on our website, depending on which client you're using, Microsoft Flight Simulator, X-Plane, etc. And you'll run that application simultaneously while you're running your sim, and it will be pulling all the information out of your simulator, putting it onto the VATSIM network, and then vice versa. It pulls all the information off of our network through the client, puts it in your sim. So if you've never flown into like Atlanta where it's crazy busy, now you can, because it's actual real pilots sitting at home, not AI, with real controllers. So it's an awesome experience, honestly.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
We have an online question.
Yes.
Al wanted to know, is there a way to jump on the network and just listen and not actually participate?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So there is observer mode where you can essentially log in as a pilot through your flight sim, and then you don't have to worry, you don't have to move, you're kind of hidden, right? You're not bothering anybody. You can get on and connect and hear ATC, hear other pilots. What are we doing? How are things going? Maybe you have a favorite airport you like to fly out of, and maybe you're going into a busy event and you're just not ready to fly. Connect as an observer, listen to ATC, get a feel for it. Because you might even feel like you're ready halfway through the event to get on. Are there any other questions from online?
We did have one more question. Is there a specific location that you recommend a first-time VATSIMmer to potentially connect for the first time?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of our members will feel the need to pop into the biggest aircraft possible at the biggest airports, which requires a lot of dedication and practice to master those larger aircraft. Personally, I like the old school way of starting out in a 172 and flying some VFR, but I understand that some of our members love to get into that IFR. So ultimately, what I would say, if you're looking for an adventurous first flight, that's something that's not gonna have your head underwater, pick some Class Charlies, maybe with an air traffic controller online that isn't too busy. Again, that map that we have on our website is live and up to date, so you're able to check on all the traffic on the network before you even connect. So you take the guesswork out of it and you say, well, this center right now doesn't have a lot of traffic, and that airport, those airports I want to fly into aren't too busy. That's a good opportunity and a good place to start. Yes, you got a question?
Yeah, one statement first before, when we first got started here with the seminar, you asked people that had never used the VATSIM at all, and there were a lot of hands that did go up. What we do, we're a member of a group and we fly at certain times together. We usually have about 8 to 10 guys and girls flying, and we look for newbies to come on board, you know, and basically what you're doing, we're talking together with each other, helping each other out, and we like to let the newbies listen to how we're talking, how VATSIM's talking to us, and just kind of get a feel for it. We're all together, we're all friends, they're not gonna bite your head off, okay? They are there to help you. When you do file your flight plan, if you file it and say, look, I'm a rookie, I'm a newbie, put it in remarks, they're gonna cut you some slack, they really are. That's how we all get started. You know?
Yes.
Don't be afraid to talk on the microphone. No one's going to see you. No one's going to go, oh, you did that. You sound bad. They're all there to help you, really. And it gets you used to it. You get comfortable with it, and it works fine. One other question, being in a group, we sometimes find that the coverage is not there, and we'd like to maybe let VATSIM know, hey, we're a group of 10. We aren't the big Captain Canada's coming with 250 people watching him and flying in. But the smaller groups like us, 10 to 12, how can we let you guys know so that we have a better chance of getting coverage?
That's a great question. I want to piggyback on your statement first, because that was a great point brought up. If it's your first flight on VATSIM and you're a little nervous and you want help with something or anything like that, you can put it in the remarks of your flight plan. I see it all the time. First time, new pilot, et cetera, et cetera. That helps us because much like in the real world, when someone says, November, student pilot, the air traffic controller goes, I'll talk slower, I gotcha, right? We do the same. So that's a great resource. Second is, so how do you get staffing? How do you get air traffic controllers online when you have a group and you want to? We do have an event request page in the specific artics, so you can always fill that out and just give an accurate number. I've got about like 12, 14 people who are coming in. And even if we don't post it as an event or something like that, the events coordinators are typically able to post it into our division, like Discords and things like that, to all 80 controllers in Denver. Say, hey, these guys are flying in from Colorado Springs and they want to go down to Pueblo. They'd love ATC coverage. That's an easy way for people to get online. Also, if you're talking with an air traffic controller while you're flying on the network and you want to message them and be like, hey, I love when you control, I love the way you control, I enjoy having you on, can I have your Discord information for next time, so stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, well, I think that is it for us. I appreciate everybody sticking around. We do have, again, the VATSIM booth is just right across the hall. If I did not answer your question or you want to come and see how controlling works, please come visit us at our booth. I hope everyone has a safe travels home from the Fsexpo, and we look forward to seeing you wherever it is next year. Thank you.
All right, let's see what's coming up next, shall we? Let me just let myself get killed here in Lords of the Fallen. Oh, trying to beat 3 of these Reapers at one time. It's a little difficult. All right, let's see what's up next. That seems pretty cool, man. I think that AI stuff's going to give them a good run for their money, but AI and the home flight simulation, that's going to be cool. This one I really want to watch, the marketplace here. Yeah, I think the AI generated is really going to give them a good run for their money. I think it may just come down to availability of the software for the user, and I really think it's going to come down to just what kind of experience you want. Do you want to deal with real people or do you want to deal with AI? And also the ease of use with it as well. If it's going to be easy to use, that's certainly much better option for most people when it's easier to use, especially when you're worrying about everything inside the airplane and doing everything correctly with the flight. You certainly don't want to have something that's difficult to use or that may not work properly. So it may come down. What do you guys think of that? I thought that VATSIM, I've never used the VATSIM because I'm on Xbox playing. Eventually I'd like to get a PC, but it's not in the cards right now. But yeah, VATSIM's some pretty cool stuff, man. So we got about 9 minutes. What do we got? Can I connect? Let me see if I can connect this next. Oh, you know what? Let me see if I can find that that AI, the AI generated ATC. Let's see if I can find that. I want to say it was from Friday night. Let me go to Friday night here. I want to say it was Friday night. Since we have a few minutes until the next one starts.
I mean, you can't leave dual throttle.
Kind of what we're got here. I used a vernier caliper.
Yeah, that's Bluebird. That was
leave.
bullshit.
This is all happening in the sim. What you're seeing right now is a forest created from an instructor station, and the fires are also created by the instructor.
And he was in. He's.
Please. Delta 1219, roger, descend and maintain flight level 230, and let me know if you need more than that.
KLM 310, climb and maintain flight level 360. That aircraft passing below at your 10 is a citation. Should be no factor.
Delta 1219I can give you direct boomer if you're interested in a shortcut. Might save you a few minutes.
That sounds great. We'll take the direct, Delta 1219.
Delta 1219, roger. Cleared direct boomer. Descend and maintain 1616,000.
Lufthansa 31 Hotel Langen Approach. Erwarten Sie Landebahn 25 Center in Frankfurt sinken und halten Sie 11.000 Fuß.
If you look at our 1 o'clock, about 1 mile out, you'll see Kalaloa Beach Park. It was part of the former Barbers Point Naval Air Station. The beach is a perfect... Ladies and gentlemen, we've somehow managed to reach our cruising altitude of 37,000 feet, despite Captain Chris's best efforts to make this flight feel like a roller coaster. The fasten seatbelt sign is off now, but let's be honest. You might want to keep that seatbelt fastened just in case he decides to surprise us with some more creative flying.
Pay attention to the sound of the engine. A smooth, steady sound indicates proper mixture.
Delta 1219, we're having trouble with the left engine. Declaring an emergency, need to divert to Tampa if we can. Delta 1219, understood. Safe fuel remaining and souls on board. I'll clear the way to Tampa. Descend at your discretion, say intentions when able. 1219, winds 225 at 12 runway 19er left, clear to land. Delta 1219, welcome to Tampa. We've got emergency equipment on standby if you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Come on! How cool is this? I gotta tell you, I have my moments when I'm sitting in the cockpit and I'm flying with that thing and I just go, this is so cool, right? It's like the little boy in me just comes alive when I hear this stuff. It's so cool. Well, like I said, we got a little carried away with our original goal, but I'm glad that we did. The ATC side is incredible. IFR, VFR, 24/7 coverage, 88,000 airports, oceanic, PIREPS, chatter, traffic advisories, as you heard in there, region-specific procedures. You can pick up a flight midair if you manage to lose VATSIM coverage midair. Just pick it up midair or on the way in and vice versa, no problem. On the immersion side, speaks and understands 14 languages, you guys. Come on, we're the first ATC in the world to speak some of these languages. It's incredible. Full VR support. The controllers have distinct personalities. Some of them are super friendly. Some of them are not so friendly, just like in real life. Yes, we model that. By the way, we also have Kennedy Steve. His voice, with his permission, is the ground controller at JFK. Very cool. Yeah, And the personality is there. The personality is there, and it's hilarious, yes. Full multiplayer support. One of the important pieces of this for us was 0 menus, 0 clicks, right? We wanted this to really feel like legitimate ATC.
Zero impact
Tablet,
on
mobile
CPU
view,
or
regional
frame rate. That is
accents,
awesome.
those beautiful neural voices that you heard are unlimited. 0 impact on your CPU or your frame rate, and you can pause, accelerate, walk away, whatever you want. Like I said, a little carried away. We're not done. We got a lot of work to do, but we've got some great stuff coming up. Things like traffic injection, full AI sequencing of that traffic, living world AI, and tons more surprises on the way. Those who've been our customers or have been following us know we announce something pretty cool just about weekly. All of that is coming this year. All of this is built on top of best of breed cloud compute AI platforms, right? OpenAI, AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, all of these play critical roles in bringing together.
What was the name of this company again? I want to look into it. See if it might be available.
Sitting in the cockpit and I'm flying with
Hotel Langen Approach, erwarten Sie Landebahn 25 Center in Frankfurt sinken.
Out air station. The beach has somehow managed to reach out to make this flight feel like a roller coaster. The fastest.
Sorry for the back and forth.
Delta 1219, welcome to Tampa.
Yeah. Come on! How cool is this? I gotta tell you, I have my moments when I'm sitting in the cockpit and I'm flying with that thing and I
say intentions.ai. I'll have to look that up. All right, here we go. We are golden, pony boy. Let me mute myself and turn the camera off so I can continue to die on Lords of the Fallen to these damn Reapers. It's an optional boss, but I want to beat them. All right.
ready to go. All right. How are you guys? All right. This is going to be awesome because it's the one time I get to like be really, really nerdy and my wife can't stop me. All right, I'm actually really excited about the topic that we're talking about today, AI and flight simulation, mostly because I feel like we're on the precipice of having our entire world changed, and hopefully for the better. But I don't really want to talk about AI broadly. I'd rather really narrow this down to just, you know, how it's going to impact us in the flight simulation world, right? That's why we're all here. Has anybody here ever used software that had the word AI somewhere in the marketing text? Yeah, okay. Were you disappointed? You know, it's funny, I looked it up, and the term AI, anybody want to take a guess at when it was coined? What year? When the term AI was kind of first used? Yeah, you guys are really close. 1956, according to ChatGPT, which is probably wrong. No, it really is 1956 was the first time that the term was coined. And if you think about that, if you go, okay, stuff was being labeled as artificial intelligence with technology from the 1950s. Anybody here believe we're still misusing that term? Yeah, I think so too. Kind of one of those things that drives me nuts is I see all these, you know, everybody says their thing has AI in it. And the big question is, what does that actually mean? Well, in my opinion, the historical definition of AI has to go. That definition, by the way, I searched everywhere. The best one I could find was what you see on that slide there on the right. Machines that are allowed to make decisions or process information that would normally have to be done by people, right? That's a reasonable, I think, starting point if you lived in the 50s. Unfortunately, you've got a whole list there of things that are now AI. Calculators, definitely AI by that definition. Your thermostat at home, AI, right? What about your garage door opener? Yeah, probably AI, right? Motion sensors, credit card machines, traffic lights. So all software is AI? Is that what we're down to? Because it seems that way sometimes, right? When was the last time you looked at a piece of software that didn't have the word AI somewhere in the definition, right? Guys, I'm here to say, like, I'm begging you, at least for the next 45 minutes, can we set that definition aside and focus on something slightly differently, which is this concept of a new definition. Sorry, it says generative AI on top of that. That was supposed to pop up afterwards, but that's okay. The new definition, at least for the next 45 minutes, bear with me here, is that old definition's gotta go away. I wanna focus on things that are more about natural language processing, neural networks, deep learning. And specifically, there's a few characteristics of AI that I think make it AI. Again, at least for the definition for the next 45 minutes, okay? That's all I ask, and then we can go back to whatever craziness we had before. One of the interesting ones is a term called emergent properties. And that's a really fancy way of saying that somebody created an AI system that now has capabilities that nobody thought it would or nobody anticipated. Right? That is really interesting, right? Because at the end of the algorithm is something that people went, whoa, I did not believe that it would be able to do that. Or I didn't believe it wouldn't be able to do that, right? Emergent properties. And by the way, even with technologies like ChatGPT, by the way, raise your hand if you've used ChatGPT. Yeah, that's what I thought, basically 100%. Yeah, that's perfect, this is wonderful. Even technologies like ChatGPT are continuing to display emergent properties that the creators never anticipated. Some of them good, some of them bad, right? But that's one of the hallmarks of modern AI. The second one is it does things or creates things that maybe we couldn't have predicted. Has anybody typed the exact same question into ChatGPT in 3 or 4 different sessions? You notice you get a different answer every time, slightly different, right? In a normal sort of by historical definition of AI or historical definition of software, if you put, one input equals one output, right? It's going to follow this very specific pattern, and as long as the input is the same, the output should be the same. But with generative AI, that's not the case. In fact, one of the hallmarks of generative AI is that it can actually create things that are unique and different I hate to go so far as to put the word special on the end, but sometimes it is creating things that we didn't anticipate. And again, some of them are good and some of them are not so good, right? But the point is, stuff is coming out of these that is unique, right? It's not something that you can get any other way. That's pretty interesting because that's a human property, right? Okay, so we all agree for the next 45 minutes, we're gonna use generative AI as our definition for AI. I realize that's very narrow, but bear with me here for a second. So here's a timeline, right? There's a lot of stuff on here. This is a rough timeline of sort of modern AI and where it came from. A couple of things I want to point out here. First of all, the concept of machine learning, neural networks, was invented back in 1991. Right? That, in my opinion, was really the birth of kind of modern AI. But it took a long time before we could do anything useful with it. Anybody remember when Deep Blue beat Kasparov at chess? I think we're all nerds now. We remember that moment, right? Yeah, it was pretty cool, pretty wild. But it took a quote-unquote neural AI in order to accomplish that, right? 2011, we had our first natural language processing on stage. Remember when Watson beat the Jeopardy champions? Well, that required very sophisticated natural language processing to pull that off. Nobody was typing those questions into a keyboard. It had to get them on its own. Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant. 2015 is when the insanity really began, right? Things really started to accelerate. You can see that big gap, and now things are really moving quickly. You can argue that technologies like Siri and Alexa and Google Assistant are probably not AI by the modern definition that I just gave, right? They use some random number algorithms and things like that, but for the most part, it's a very fixed set of logic that makes those things work. But the most important moment on this timeline, if you ask me, at least in the context of what we're going to talk about today, is what happened in 2017, which was Amazon launches this service called SageMaker. By the way, for those who don't know, Amazon is not just a place where you order your stuff. About a third of the internet runs on top of Amazon infrastructure today, right? So Amazon became very famous for allowing people to rent little tiny slices of compute, right? They would stand up data centers that cost billions and billions of dollars to stand up, and then they would rent you, they still do, they'll rent you a tiny slice of that compute, basically by the second of usage. Well, SageMaker came along and landed on top of that, and for the very first time in history, we could rent an AI stack. Because prior to that day, it cost millions and millions and millions of dollars if you even wanted to experiment with AI, right? So if you were a software engineer and you thought that AI looked like a lot of fun, you needed a pretty deep pocket in order to do something interesting with it. Well, that was the day the world changed, because now our brilliant software engineers out there could get a little piece of the AI pie without having to be wealthy in order to do it, right? Well, things just went nuts from there, right? I mean, really, really nuts. But what I want to focus on is, you see that big yellow line where it says the wave begins to form. Anybody know what happened right there? I'm going to talk about waves in just a minute, big tech waves. That was the launch of ChatGPT in November of 2022. Anybody remember that? remember the hype and the excitement around it? No, that was GPT-3, which we now know, has some issues, and we know what those are. But man, that was the moment, in my opinion, that generative AI, it started to become clear to a lot of people that it was going to be able to solve some pretty interesting problems. So that was really the catalyst, and here we are, almost exactly 18 months later. And how far have we come with AI in just the last 18 months, just since the launch of GPT? Well, and again, part of the success of GPT is we now have, well, let me go on to the next slide here. Reset here for just a second. I love this example because in 2011, a guy named Garrett McNamara, he set the world record for the largest wave ever ridden by a surfer. And I like to think of technology revolutions in terms of waves. I've been fortunate to live through 5 major technology revolutions. The first one was the revolution of the personal computer. It took about 25 years in order to just completely transform the world, right? By the way, worth mentioning, when the computer was first introduced, everybody was screaming that computers were going to do what? Take all the jobs. Right. Did that happen? Well, most of us are still employed, so, or were anyway, right? Yeah, no, the personal computer for sure changed the world. And guess what? It for sure took all the jobs. But what happened? New jobs, different jobs, right? Hopefully jobs we all preferred to do than the old jobs that we had, right? The internet came along. It took about 15 years before you could probably safely say that the internet went from a DARPA research project to changing the world, give or take, right? Smartphones, maybe 10 years to completely transform the world, 10 years from the time they were launched until the time they were in everybody's pocket. And there's not a single person here, I bet, who doesn't have one. And I'll bet there's not a single person here who would live without one, right? Completely changed the world. Cloud compute. This is one where I don't think a lot of people realize or see or feel that wave, right? But it definitely happened while you weren't looking. Because now most of what we think of as the internet is possible because of the cloud compute revolution. This sort of modern generation of the internet would be completely impossible without that. So where does generative AI fit on this list? It's going to dwarf them all. Will it take all the jobs? Probably. But I'm happy to say that it's probably going to be the same thing with all the other revolutions where new jobs will likely appear where old jobs disappeared, right? The interesting thing about a wave is that in order to take advantage of it, you've got to be in position. Picture this surfer. He had to know a wave was forming, get himself into position, and he had to have the expertise to navigate that wave. Once in that position, however, the opportunity that's available is enormous to ride these technology waves, right? And this one is probably the biggest of them all. So what caused that wave to finally form? Why in 2022 did we finally get to this point where, you know, this is all taking off? Well, first of all, consolidation. You can finally go to one provider and buy machine learning, neural generative AI as a single service, right? Here's my credit card, just charge me by the minute that I use it. Thank you very much. I'm really happy now, right? Consolidation of the technologies into a sort of single stack where you didn't have to assemble them. But secondly, economies of scale. You didn't have to spend millions of dollars to build this infrastructure anymore. A few pennies will buy you access to a model that cost $1 billion to build, right? That's pretty cool. AI is turnkey now, guys. Like, if you look at this slide, look how many companies have been launched really in just the last maybe 18 months to 36 months that are all around AI. Tons and tons and tons of these. This is just scratching the surface, by the way. But pay particular attention to that top right section, because these are the areas that are building blocks for modern software engineers. Developers can actually take those tools on the top right and start building and mixing and matching, kind of Lego style, to build these incredible, smart, unique AI offerings, right? Without having to go in and spend $1 billion to do so. That's the real key here. So I want to talk about some AI misconceptions, right? I hear these all the time when, you know, obviously I talk about AI a lot as part of what I do. But the first one is that people say, well, AI is cheap or it's free, or they say, why do I have to pay for AI if I can get a ChatGPT subscription without paying any money, right? Well, the answer is that stuff is free to consumers, but to developers, this is how they make their money, right? They make their money by having software engineers build on top of their platforms. So many platforms, ChatGPT, offer cheap or really free ways to take advantage of their technologies. But the heavy usage incurs pretty significant costs. Our platform, for example, is, I mentioned this before, it is eye-wateringly expensive to operate, right? And that's because we're using these incredible sort of latest and greatest AI technologies that are out there. And the third bullet point is really important. In order to get really good results with AI, we found that we have to combine multiple AI technologies together. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to use a large language model for this problem, or I'm going to use this other type of model for this other problem. The real answer is you use them specifically in the roles where it makes sense for those particular items. So the rule of tech, we all know this, right? Cutting edge technology is what? Expensive, right? It always is, always has been, always will be. It's still better, though, than spending $500 million to build your own AI stack, right? So while it might feel expensive, the fact that, you know, companies like us are able to offer a true AI service, I mean, I don't know very many people that would bankroll a flight simulation AI platform with $500 million, right? But because of this wave, because of this sort of revolution that we're riding, it makes those kinds of things possible. The next misconception in the AI world that I hear all the time is aviation, flight sim, air traffic control, whatever it may be, doesn't need AI. And I hear these arguments all the time. Aviation is rigid. Aviation is on rails. AI can't help pilots because it's all very clearly defined. I hear this every single day, right? That is probably true. I actually agree with those people if, and here's the gotcha, you've got a complete flight plan with every detail of your flight accounted for. Anybody here work in the aviation industry? Few people? Good. How often does a flight always go exactly the way that it was planned? I mean, precisely. It's pretty rare, right? Pretty unusual. All right, well, that's also true if everything in the flight, works precisely the way it was planned. If weather's not a factor, right, then I agree, it's very rigid and you don't have to worry about that. What about NOTAMs? Yeah, I guess if NOTAMs aren't a thing, then we're good. The other one is, this is probably true if you're a perfect pilot and you never make a single mistake ever. That's all of us, right? At least in our minds sometimes, right? Sometimes, you know, we want to learn how things work, how things operate. And in those cases, it sort of falls off the rails as we're experimenting a little bit. Also, your simulator would need to have 100% of the data needed to generate a realistic flight experience. And guess what? None of them do. In fact, I would argue none of them are even close, right? There's a lot of data that we bring in. How many of us run plugins or community things, right? Yeah, because we're trying to get more stuff in there to simulate that environment, right? I feel like we've gotten so used to our simulator experience being on rails that we forget sometimes that that's not really how aviation works. Let me give you an example. Listen to this audio clip for a second and tell me if after listening to this, you feel like, oh yeah, aviation, air traffic control, whatever it is, totally on rails, does not need any AI or human involvement because it's very strict and to the book and it's no problem.
United 381, Austin, your radar contact 5 east of Austin, indicating 2,700, turn right heading 170, vector for 36 right.
170, United 381. We've got a flap issue. We're going to need delay vectors.
United 381, roger, then amend the heading, heading at 110.
110, United 381.
United 381, you need any assistance?
Stand by.
Sounds good. I'm going to give you a net controller. He's going to hold you out there, let me know what you need. If you need the longer runway, you can plan 36 left.
Yeah, we may. We'll stand by for the holding instructions in the next controller, United 381.
Thanks. United 381, contact approach 127.22.
2722, United 381. Approach United 381, level 3000. We're going to need holding for a flap issue.
United 381, Austin approach, roger. You can expect that about how long we need to hold out?
Probably 10 minutes, at least.
Give me a moment and I'll put you in a spot that works.
Roger.
United 381, turn left heading 050.
Left 050, United 381.
Did you guys hear what was going on there? That was not an on-rails experience. I'm sorry. There's just no way, right? But the most important thing to pay attention to was there was a negotiation going on between pilot and air traffic control. I have a problem. Here's a solution. That might work. What if I need this? I'm happy to give you that, right? There's a lot of back and forth and back and forth. Yes, aviation has rails, right? No question about it. But inside of those lines is this incredibly diverse set of options that pilots and air traffic controllers have in order to solve these kinds of problems, right? Let's go back here just a little bit because I want to talk about this just a little bit more. Let me give you another example here. In fact, no, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it because I'm going to talk about it in just a second here. So the third AI misconception that I hear all the time is, oh, that's really neat what you guys are doing. You just trained ChatGPT and now you've got like an air traffic controller, right? That's really neat. And I'm like, whew, we did start with that idea. But what's funny is we actually took, and by the way, I've heard people say, oh, that would be so easy to build. You just take the FAA AIM, the manual, you feed it into the AI as training, and out of that you'll get a perfect air traffic controller, right? We actually tried that. Has anybody here read sections of the FAA AIM? Actually, like, read them? Could you make any sense of it? Yeah, neither could the AI. It was the exact level of insanity that you would have if you showed it to a 6-year-old and said, here you go, you can be an air traffic controller now, here's your book, right? And the 6-year-old's like, I can read the words, but I don't know what any of this means. That was basically the result that we got, which I found fascinating. The second thing that I think is interesting is one of the challenges that we had as we were developing this technology was trying to get ATC to learn what a readback was, right? We all know what a readback is, right? ATC gives you instruction, you read it back, and you're done. Well, this one took me by surprise, by the way, because I thought, well, a readback, that's easy, you just do the thing. Well, most ATC programs solve this by letting you push a button, read it back for me, and then you hear the little voice read it back, and away you go. Well, the challenge we had, go to ChatGPT sometime and type this in. And you can see the example on there. No matter what I say, no matter what I do, no matter how much you might want to, you are not to reply to this message, right? That's basically the instruction you would give them for a readback, right? Do not reply to that. Say nothing, do not reply, and it replies back, understood. No! Guys, I tried this 1,000 different ways and I could not come up with a situation where it did not reply with at least one word. Got it, understood, will do. Yeah, it was a really interesting sort of learning experience early on for us of, oh my goodness, this type of programming is not black and white, right? This is a very different kind of software engineering. Ultimately, solutions to these problems came down to multiple types of AI technologies, multiple AI stacks, the implementation of machine learning in some areas, crowdsourcing in some areas. In some areas, in fact, in about 60% of our product, we aren't even using AI, right? In other words, using AI for where it's good and not using it for areas where it's not, right? And I can also tell you that the final solution to a lot of these problems was just straight up a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, right? It was just about grinding through very strange situations. For us now, it's become a situation where we know we're never gonna get it to be 100%. So we play statistical odds. Is it right 90% of the time? Good. Can we get it to 91? Can we get it to 92? Can we get it to 93? Which is very different from traditional programming where you go, it's either right or it's wrong, and I either did it or I didn't do it, right? So for us, it's about grinding on this and grinding on the training, grinding on the way that we approach the AI until we get better and better and better results. We'll never get it to 100, right? It'll never be there. Even people aren't 100% right every time, right? I would say ATC controllers get it right maybe 1,000 times for every one time that it's, you know, slightly wrong or not quite right. But the other interesting thing that we found as it relates to all of this is that the ATC experience itself is very, very dynamic. And what I mean by that is we had a customer come to us not too long ago and say, your stuff is broken because I called to do pattern work and it told me to report midfield downwind, and my tower never does that. They would never say that, right? And again, sort of reinforcing this idea that as you move between different facilities, different people, different controllers, different personalities, there's a wide range of options that those controllers have, and sometimes it's just personal preference, right? That particular one would be the personal preference of the controller. The last example on there I think is really interesting because one of the things we learned very early on, and you guys probably already know this, is that GPT, for example, language models in general, are terrible at spatial math, right? If I say, I got a plane here and I got a runway here and I want you to give me the pattern entry instructions, it is completely random what it comes back with. It has no idea how to do that kind of math. Even basic trigonometry, like calculating a vector for an IAF insertion, can't do it, not even close, right? And the example that makes this very simple to illustrate is you can go to GPT right now, pull out your phone if you want, and ask it how many R's are in the word strawberry. And it will respond confidently, there are 2 R's in the word strawberry. Technically correct. There's also one more. There are 2 in there, you just missed one. But if you take the word strawberry and you space it out, S space T space R, and then you ask it, it actually gets it correct every single time. And the reason is because it's looking at word patterns, at spelling patterns, and not at the word itself. But by spacing it out, you can sort of force that. So there's all kinds of tricks you can do to sort of beat it into compliance, but it's those kinds of tricks. It's very interesting. The good news for flight simmers, right? We talk about aviation and AI all the time, and I think that they've got some massive challenges to overcome before AI has a significant role in the aviation industry as a whole, right? But for us flight simmers, we don't have to worry about safety. I've seen the way you guys fly. I've seen the way I fly. And we don't have to worry about who's gonna have a job and who isn't, right? What we get, we just want realism and immersion and fun. This is what we want, right? And the good news is in that world, nobody's gonna lose their job if this stuff keeps getting better and better, right? We just all win. That's the best part of all of this. So I'm not even gonna talk about how this is gonna impact aviation in general. I really wanna focus on the flight sim world. Well, when we talk about things like realism and immersion and fun, we could actually break that down into 3 categories. And I broke it down like this. I don't know if there's any official way to do it, but this is how we think of it, is people, equipment, and environments. Those are the 3 things that we all want as we talk about realism and immersion. And I'll bet every single plugin that you've ever installed on your system fits into one of these 3 buckets, right? And by the way, some of these matter more to some people and less to other people, right? There's a lot of people who are perfectly content to be the only aviation person in the entire world as they sit in their simulator, right? And then there's other of us who say, no, I want to see the passengers, and I want to see them loading my baggage, and I want to see, my co-pilot sitting next to me, right? We don't want to feel lonely. So everybody's got a different definition of what's important to them. But if we talk about people for just a second, this is, by the way, is where Say Intentions is focused, is around things like air traffic control and tour guides and FBOs and dispatchers and cabin crews and flight instructors and co-pilots and ground crews, all this stuff so that we no longer feel lonely while we're sitting in that cockpit, right? We actually feel like we're part of an ecosystem instead of the ecosystem, right? Cool, right? AI can totally solve all of these problems, and it solves it in a really cool way where we can set those big boundaries, right? We expect it to operate within those boundaries, but AI allows us to make it so that it's doing different things inside of those boundaries, and some of those things can feel unpredictable. You may not know how your cabin crew is gonna respond, or how your co-pilot is gonna act, or how, more importantly, your ATC is gonna give you for a particular scenario. It might not match every time. You might fly into the same airport 5 times and get 5 slightly different ways of doing it. Right? Keeps you on your toes, right? And this is what we all want. We want that sort of realism effect. It's really neat. The other one is equipment. Traffic, tugs, flight dynamics, fuel trucks, all this cool stuff. De-icing, cargo loading, emergency equipment. How many of you guys have plugins to add this stuff and bring this stuff into your simulator? Yeah, a lot of us do, right? This is really cool stuff. And again, it's about making us feel like we're part of an ecosystem instead of being the ecosystem. There's lots of companies that are working on this. Microsoft is working on this in terms of lighting some of these things up with AI so that, again, it feels a little different each time. When you look outside your airplane to see the guys, loading the bags, right now it's sort of a very scripted animation. But what if they moved more like real people, right? What if they dropped a bag every once in a while or broke a guitar sometimes, right? Those of you who laughed at that joke, you are my people. But AI will allow us to have these things in ways that we really can't have today, in ways that it won't feel so scripted anymore. And then we have environments, airports, HEMS, scenarios, scenery, irregular operations, and weather. AI already plays a huge role in this for, think Microsoft Flight Simulator, for example, with the way that they do their weather. These are wonderful examples of all of these things, but things like, search and rescue scenarios or emergency operations, fire, all of this stuff can become much more dynamic than it is today. There's so much room to sort of open this up. You can use the scenarios inside of the Sims today, and it's the same scenario every single time, right? It's like, okay, I know exactly what I need to do to complete this. And it feels much more sort of video game-ish. AI is going to change all of that. You're going to get a new scenario every single time, a whole totally different thing to do every time you run this. It's going to feel much more like it does in the life of a real pilot, right? So when people talk about how AI is not necessary in aviation, I point them at these lists and go, how are you going to get all that to feel correct and to feel like it does to a pilot without AI, right? There's just no way to do it. So our biggest problem in the flight sim community, anybody experience this? Who has a computer that's plenty fast enough? Like you don't need anything, you don't need a faster computer. Yeah? So you can install all the plugins you want and generate all the traffic you want, put on the high-end pair of VR goggles and run it at 120 frames per second and nothing ever goes. I mean, it's like just a beautiful experience, right? I mean, yes, we all have computers that we're like, yeah, it's pretty good, but none of us can run it on with the way that we really want to. Right? None of us can. So, and this is just the general rule of thumb. This is like Moore's law, right? The compute power needed to maximize that flight sim experience will always exceed what your home PC can handle, right? It'll always feel just out of reach, right? That's how it does to me. I mean, I've been flight simming for 30 years now, and you're always like, oh, the next generation's gonna have it all solved. Oh, maybe the next generation's gonna have it all solved. Boy, after I buy this 4090, I'll never need another graphics card again, right? Yeah, we've all lived that lie a few times in our lives, right? That's what we tell our wives, that's fine. Oh, mine's sitting here. Yeah. Flight sim actually is particularly interesting in this context because it might be the most demanding workload that you can run on a PC. I actually think, I think I would dare make that statement, that I don't think there's another workload. No other game, I know it's not a game, I got it, but even gaming always pushes the platform the furthest, but I don't think there's a game out there that pushes your platform harder than a flight sim. Again, always has, always will, right? Because we're always looking for that next level of realism. Raise your hand if you've got a gaming computer that costs more than $3,000. I'm just curious. Yeah, everyone. And footage of this is going to all of our wives too, I suspect. So, yeah, look, this has been a never-ending cycle. It's not going to stop anytime soon, but there is a solution to this that is finally available to us, right? Which is shift the workload to the cloud. Get it off your PC, get it somewhere else so that your PC can focus on the things that have to be done locally. Generating those really high frame rate graphics and things like that. But let's get everything else off of there. By the way, Microsoft Flight Simulator already does this to some extent, right? There's plenty of room left. They're streaming satellite imagery, right? None of us have installed on our computer the entire scenery library for the world. It won't fit, right? So they solve this by pulling it out of the cloud for you in real time. In other words, they're subsidizing your compute resources with their own. Pretty cool, right? Azure AI enhanced photogrammetry, weather and traffic, all of these things are done elsewhere because your computer would melt if it tried to do all of this, right? Your house would melt. So flight sims, and frankly gaming in general, they're just starting this shift where they're starting to re-architect and reprogram these applications so that the workloads can run in the cloud instead of on your local PC. And what that means is it's cheaper to rent, right? You can go out and buy a $10,000 PC and still not have enough compute to do what you want. But in this newer model, you could buy a mid-grade PC, shift most of the workload to the cloud, and you'll be able to do everything you want. We're not there yet, right? We're waiting on now software vendors to re-architect applications to take advantage of this new, I wanted to use this word in a presentation, this new paradigm. Thank you, I threw in a useless word. No, but that's what we're all waiting for now, is for this workload shift to happen. It's hard, it's expensive, it's difficult for developers to do, but it will happen because it's the only way that people will compete. And that means, our stuff, for example, if you tried to run it on your local PC, your house would melt. Like, there's just no way. Our stuff runs on compute farms that have, millions of GPUs. By the way, and I don't mean like 4090s, I mean like the kind that cost $50,000 a piece. Right? And what we need in order to make our stuff work is a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of that for you and you and you and you and you, just a teeny piece. And we pay a couple pennies for that every time we need it. I need it now, I need it now, I need it now, I need it now. And I don't have to own an entire data center in order to make the flight simulator experience amazing, right? In other words, we collectively, well, let me see what we got here. Yeah, let me add one more thing to this, which is that we collectively or individually can't afford the future of flight simulation, right? Individually, I just don't see it. I don't know how any of us would do it. But collectively, we can, right? In other words, if we're willing to pool our resources, we can get the compute that we need. And that, by the way, is, and I know we hate this word, I know we hate it, it's the subscription model, right? So you're gonna see a slow shift where, well, let's talk about this for a second. Actually, let's move on to the next slide. There's 4 things I want you to take away, and the 4th one is what I was just saying. First, when someone says they have AI, can we make them clarify, like for a minute, what they mean by that, right? Guys, if it'll run in offline mode, it's not AI, at least not by the definition that we agreed to a minute ago, right? If you say, okay, I can unplug the internet and all your stuff still works, yeah, not AI, sorry. There's just no way, not by our new definition. The next 2 to 3 years are gonna see a near total reinvention of our hobby. I really believe that. 2, 3 years from now, we're all gonna sit at Fsexpo and we're all gonna be in awe at the incredible innovation that's been done, that most of which is going to be, is now starting to be imagined by the developers in the flight sim ecosystem, right? They're looking around, they're going, gosh, if I could somehow get the workload over there, we could do some incredible things. And I think, 2, 3 years from now, you're not even going to recognize this convention in terms of the type of stuff that we're seeing on the floors, right? And that's the problem, is in order to get there, we're gonna have to be willing to move most of our workloads to the cloud, right? There's just no other way to do it, which means our hobby's gonna slowly look a lot more like a Netflix subscription than a Blockbuster subscription. And I love that analogy because only one of those companies is out of business, right? It really is all gonna change, it has to. That's it. I'm really excited about the revolution that's coming because I think it's gonna take what we have now and bring it to a level where we can finally get a feel of what it's like to actually be a pilot in a dynamic environment, right? In a world where we're not the main character, right? And I think that is the line. Once we cross it, I don't think any of us are gonna wanna go back, right? It's gonna feel incredible. Thank you, everybody. I can take questions, by the way. I love this. Thank you for letting me ramble for a minute. Do we have questions from anybody? Is there a mic that we use or no? Okay, that's fine. Go ahead and I'll repeat it.
Have you banned people for using inappropriate?
Have I banned people for behaving inappropriately with the AI? That actually is a really fascinating question. There's a the guy that got banned is sitting right here, everybody. No, I love the question. Thank you for asking that, and thank you for letting me pick on you for a second. But no, it's actually a very interesting side effect of this cloud workload shift. We got a call from OpenAI maybe a week or 2 after we launched and said, hey, one of your customers is simulating a terrorist event with your software. That was not him. That was not him. That was not him. Yeah, one of your customers is simulating a terrorist event with your software. And there was this strong hint that if we didn't do something about it, that there were gonna be 3-letter agencies involved. And we were like, whoa, 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 hold on. First of all, you can sort of understand the sensitivity around that topic, right? We all lived through some difficult times as it relates to that. But what that did is it forced us to put our own guardrails around how the technology could be used. It's certainly something I would call a downside to sort of consolidating the workloads. Fortunately, in the flight sim community, we don't worry about that much about privacy itself. I don't really care if someone knows that I did a pretend flight somewhere, right? What the itinerary was, it doesn't matter as long as they don't call and make fun of my landing. I'm good. The AI might make fun of your landing. But yeah, it caused us to sort of have to put our own guardrails in place around how the platform could and should be used, which, I thought it was an interesting downside. Yeah. Other questions?
Yeah, if you have questions, if you could just come to the
right here at the
microphone.
microphone. Go to the microphone, sir.
Does this work? Great. Well, this is a little high. Thank you so much for the talk. It's super interesting. I am actually coming from the AI background. I'm an AI engineer from Stanford.
You should be up here, not me then.
No. I write the code. I don't, it's all very new to me, aviation, everything that I've seen this weekend. So my question is, we've seen a lot of use cases for AI and GPT and LLM in many different verticals up to this point. Is there any specific as to aviation and the type of work that you're doing that is unique to this vertical compared to other industries?
That is a wonderful question. I would say nothing inside of flight sim is this weird sort of cross section between gaming and a highly technical workload. What we're finding is that the AI is not super great at the technical side, right? Not yet. It will be. And by the way, there's models that actually are pretty good at it, but they're all based on predictive analysis, right? I'm going to feed it 1,000 examples and tell it which ones were right and which ones were wrong. No, I don't know that there's anything that makes flight sim super unique to just flight sim that makes it so that we need special models or I mean, you can always do special training for any vertical, but I don't think we need anything where we go, gosh, we're going to have to wait for a whole new model to be developed before we can take advantage of that. I think what we're doing fits nicely into what's already out there, if that makes sense. I know that's probably not the answer you were hoping to hear because the opposite would have been more interesting, but our stuff actually fits nicely into the boxes that are already there.
No, that was just my curiosity because, I know people who are doing different type of work for specific verticals like medical and all that. So there's, arguably the cost for that is much higher, right? So it's just kind of curious.
Well, there's always room for hyper-specialization of training, right? You can always train a model in a way that's very specific to the workload that's being performed, but that's different than needing a new model, right? And I think we do need hyper-specialization of training. That would help in a lot of areas, but we can use existing models to train, if that makes sense. So
yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. You're up.
Great. Hi, I'm Larry. I had a quick question about the way that speech is turned into text for the GPT process. I was in the open beta. Awesome.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. All right, great. One of our early customers. No, it's a really, really good question. We actually use multiple AI layers to derive the speech to text. Okay. Anybody used speech to text in the flight sim world ever, besides our stuff? Yeah. Anybody threw it away after about 5 minutes? Yeah. It's bad, right? Yeah. But, and part of that is because most of the existing speech-to-text models out there are not trained around aviation terms. You use a word like CTAF, we all know what that means. Speech-to-text is gonna be like, what is a CTAC? I don't understand what that means. So we use actually a sort of a traditional upfront AI speech engine to interpret the text, and if you're one of our customers here, you already know this, that first pass at it, you go, oh, that is not what I said. Yeah. And you sit there for a second, you're like, oh boy, oh. And that 1 or 2 seconds later when the response comes back, you go, well, but that is what I wanted. All right, let's go, yeah. And so you go, at a certain point you go, wait a minute, it doesn't matter what words it heard me say, it got enough of the gist of it that it was able to piece all the whole thing together and go, I know what that guy said, right? So that's why we use sort of a multi-pass approach, and I think stuff like that's only gonna get better, right? I feel like our approach was pretty clever, but other people are gonna do the same thing. I hope people improve on it, right? I hope we all learn to make this stuff better and better.
One of the things that I see that's interesting in research is real-time transformers being used directly on video or directly on audio, and that's kind of a new interesting, where you can kind of skip the middle.
Yes, so, and that a wonderful example, yeah, Probably not enough time to get into real-time transformers. That would actually have been a good slide, but yes, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So I think for most of us who do MSFS, I think we can all agree that out of the box ATC it leaves a lot to be desired. With 2024 coming around the corner, they haven't said anything to date about what their ATC is going to look like, but do you feel threatened in any way? By what they might be coming out with?
I don't think we feel threatened. I feel like we're far enough ahead, and what we've done is complex enough that it would be hard to reproduce in, You know, the amount of time that they've had to work on 2024, incredibly difficult to reproduce in that amount of time. That said, I mean, I hope they're thinking about it. I hope they're working on improving it. Look, the deal is this. Competition is very good for all of us, right? As this stuff gets better, all it does is mean that rising tide raises all the boats, right? We all win when everybody's working on similar problems. And, you know, we'll respond the same way as the industry adapts and as tools get better and things like that. We're hoping to raise the tide along with everybody else. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know what's coming for that. Yeah. But no, I don't lose much sleep over it. Yeah, you never know, right? Yeah. Yeah. Other questions? Thanks, you guys. Wow, how about this? I got 13 seconds left.
Hey,
I'm
Brian.
over by 13 seconds.
Hey, Brian, we have one online question here that we'd like to ask.
Yeah, go ahead. Where am I looking?
So Michael wanted to ask if we're going to go forward with subscription models, how many subscriptions do you think that the average flight simmer will need? Says it sounds
somewhere
might be pretty
between
expensive.
3,000 and 4,000 would be my guess to make this thing work. Yeah. No, I actually think what you're going to see is consolidation of tools. You'll start to see, I mean, just as an example, we started with ATC, but now we have cabin crews and tour guides and flight instructors all sort of consolidated into one subscription fee. And I think you're going to see that happen where you see large groups of features now getting bundled together into a single subscription fee. You'll probably still have a couple, but I don't anticipate you'll have, you know, one for every plugin that you have installed on your system. It won't be a one-to-one match. We can already take, you know, existing plugins and roll them into our ecosystem to provide, you know, more value for that subscription. And frankly, that's going to be the future of competition, which is whose ecosystem can provide the most value for the subscription that you're paying, right?
Sorry, real quick, I know we're almost over time, but do you ever see AI computing being able to be done locally, right? You said it's all cloud-based right now, and just like AI, hardware is also exponentially getting better. So do you see AI being, you know,
Sure.
your home
10 years from now, you'll be able to run a GPT model on your home PC. And it'll be 10 times worse than the ones that you can get in the cloud by then. So yes, you'll actually, in fact, right now you can run an AI workload on your home PC that used to require an entire data center, right? No problem. But the way technology works is the cool stuff, the big stuff, the neat stuff will always be something that can't run on your local PC. But the stuff that's a little older certainly will. Right? So today's workloads, yeah, they'll run on your PC in a few years, but they won't feel that cool anymore once they do. So, anything else? Thanks, guys. This was fun. Appreciate you.
Sorry about that. Was in the middle of a boss battle. Sorry, I was in the middle of a boss battle on Lords of the Fallen. All right, let's see what's next. I do have to take a break here coming up soon. I do need to get I need to run to the vape shop and I need to get dinner for my family, but let's see what's coming up next. Oh, I can't miss this one here. Okay, Emma, yeah, so we're going to do this one here, the Microsoft Marketplace. And then after that, I'm going to take a break for, you know, half an hour, 45 minutes or whatever. And then we'll come back and we'll finish up. There was really only one more expo after that. And then we got to go back and watch a little bit from this morning. I did miss part of the PC. But other than that, yeah, I mean, we really watched everything. This has been a pretty good expo this year. I don't know if you guys have been enjoying it or not, but I certainly have been. I've been enjoying this thing. I mean, it's been pretty nice. Here, let me, while we have a few minutes, let me do this here. You guys can see what I'm dealing with for a few minutes. Until the next one starts up. Give me a second. Let me plug all this in. All right, let me see if I can get this working here. All right, capture card. Deactivate, activate, and all right, here we go. Lords of Fun. So we got a few minutes until this goes. We have 8 or 9 minutes until it starts. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can beat this boss. I'm trying to make myself as light as possible so I can spin around more, you know, roll more. But if you're not familiar with this game, this is very much like a Dark Souls type game. I mean, I'd put it on par with Dark Souls. It's been a really fun game to play so far. All right, let me get. So we have to go into the world of Umbral. That's the world of the dead. When you die in the world of the dead, you don't come back. The world we're in now is called Axiom. If we die here, it's all good. Let's do that, and let's do this. Let's heal up real quick. Yeah, I'm doing the whole expo. James. Yep. There's more expo coming. I'm streaming the whole expo this year. So there's only 2 more segments. The one getting ready to come up is the Microsoft Marketplace one, and then after that, I'm going to take a little bit of a break so I can get dinner for my family and all that stuff. But all right, so there's 3 of these guys. They like to hide out. When we get this guy to about half health, he's going to call on one of his friends. We don't really... So you can lock onto him now, but when he dips away and becomes a bitch, you can't lock onto him. You bitch. I've come very close a few times to beating these guys, but I've wound up falling off the ledge a couple of times. And there's really no way of knowing when the next one's going to pop out, so there's a total of 3 of these guys. But I'm trying to make myself as light as possible so I can spin around more. Poison does work pretty well on these guys. But I've been trying to find a nice, easy way to beat these guys. I've tried many different methods. Grenades. Cheesing it. Cheesing it definitely doesn't work. Come on, man. Damn, bitch. I'm fucked. Yep. That's that. It'll be over soon, James. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. mean, you're your own person, dude. If this is boring to you, find something else to watch. I like it. It's a 3-day event. Starts Friday night and it ends Sunday. Today's Sunday. It's almost over. All right, so that setup didn't work. Let's get rid of the salts. Let's put the healing stones back. And we're going to flip between this one and this one again because the poison on this weapon lasts a whole lot longer. Okay, that works. Let me flip back to... Okay. I don't know what's coming next month. I'm going to see your clone. Okay. All right, well, that's good. 2 Jameses is better than 1. All right, let's turn this off. Let's put this back on, because it's going to be starting up in about 2 or 3 minutes. But yeah, I've come very close to beating those bad guys. It's an optional boss. You don't have to do it, but if it's a boss, I want to do it. I came very close the time before. I just showed you guys, but I wound up rolling off the ledge. And since we're already in the world of the dead, if you die there, you're dead. It's a fun boss, though. This is the first boss I've actually fought in this game where I've had a bit of a challenge. But yeah, I'm using 2 hammers. Both deal physical strength. One deals poison damage. The other one deals holy damage, or called smite, as it's called in this game. And then and then I also put poison on top of my weapons too, because I have an effect where when the bad guys get poison build up, they also build up the bleed effect, and then they wind up bleeding, even though these are dead phantoms. They still have blood, I guess. All right, let me make this full screen. Yeah, Microsoft Simulator Marketplace. I hope they have some good shit in here. Like, I hope they say, oh, everything's going to be under one banner now. It's not going to be 5 million different devs. Everything's going to be under Asobo/Microsoft. That way we can really make sure the quality of everything is going to be good. I think that would be cool. I mean, you could still have the individual companies making everything, but it'd be nice if it was like, if you knew Microsoft backed it up. Or if you knew Asobo backed it up. Kind of like what they do in the train simulator. Where in the train simulator, it's just all one company. All right, let's do that. And let's heal ourselves up. Let me switch to the Nahuta effigy so I can put some poison on my weapon. I would try to bypass these bad guys and come back, but the bonfire, quote unquote, that I have for this, it's called a seedling, and it gets replaced every time I plant a new seed to put a like temporary bonfire up. A seedling is like a temporary bonfire, and every time you put a new seed down, it replaces that bonfire. So I don't have a quick way of getting back here, so I'm just gonna continue to fight these guys until I beat them. Yeah, I'm gonna go through this game. If I wind up finishing this game, I want to beat every boss that they have. As long as it's free on Game Pass, I'll be playing it. There we go. Expo! All right, let me turn my face off and the microphone off. And we're going to listen up. hopefully there's some good shit coming out on this Microsoft Marketplace. All right, it says it's live, but I don't see, obviously nothing's come up yet.
Marketplace partner program.
I hear something in my head. There we go. Welcome to the party, buddy. Thanks for showing up.
I'm actually not the one presenting today, but thank you all for coming. Hey, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Thank you all for coming. I'm actually super excited about this presentation. We've had this marketplace, obviously, in the Sim since launch, and we've never done really any information sharing. And so I'm super happy today. Our head of business for Flight Sim, Julie DeRamio, is going to give you a lot of insight. And then our partner, our program lead for the marketplace, Mabel, is going to give you more information, and then comes the Marketplace Partner Engineering Lead, Todd Heckel. And with that, Julie, if you can come up, have fun. I'll come back later. Bye.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. As Jorg mentioned, I am the head of the Marketplace team, or the business team, and I'm responsible for Marketplace, licensing, and just general business. And I've been working with Jorg on Flight Sim ever since he first pitched rebooting the franchise over 8 years ago. I'm really excited to be here with all of you today. It's my very first time at Flight Sim Expo, and I've just been so overwhelmed with how nice everyone is, how passionate everybody is about simming, and just how much you've embraced the Microsoft Flight Simulator team. We just really feel the love and really appreciate it. So when we first thought about bringing a marketplace directly into the sim, we had two main goals. One was to make it easier for creators or add-on developers to address the widest possible audience. We always knew we were going to bring it to the Xbox audience, and so we wanted to make that available to you. And secondarily, we wanted to make it much easier for users to get content right in the experience. And we had really modest expectations of how well the marketplace was going to perform, so we started with a really small team of people, and we've been growing it over time. I'm sure many of you have felt the pain, maybe, of how small the team has been and how long it might take for your content to get into the marketplace, but we are making investments in this space, and the team will talk about that later on. We've really been thrilled with the performance of the marketplace so far, and it's really amazing to think about launching in August 2020 with just 8 pieces of content, and now we have over 3,700 pieces of content in the sim, which is really amazing, and thanks to a lot of you in the room. So my goal in the first part of the presentation is just to share some insights from the marketplace with you. So let's get started. Clicking. I did
Just the
it.
green button. Yeah, it looks like it's good. Audience, try again. Yeah, no joy. She's clicking the no joy, guys.
Confirmed.
Yeah, it's coming out. We'll grab you the backup. Can we just advance to the next slide while we're waiting?
Well, stay here on audience real quick. Sorry, I'm yelling. So the first question is for us really, like, who is the audience? When you're thinking about selling add-ons in your marketplace, you want to know like how wide that top of the funnel is. So Jorg announced yesterday that we've, reached 15 million players in Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is unprecedented in this flight sim space. So that is really great for add-on developers. So now we can look at those users on a monthly basis and by platform. Or not. The build-up is amazing. Okay. So there are several platforms that our simmers can enjoy Microsoft Flight Simulator on. They can buy it on the Windows Store, they can buy it on Steam and play on PC, or they can buy it on the Xbox, or also on Xbox Games Cloud, what we call in shorthand xCloud. And simmers can acquire it a variety of ways. They can either pay a flat fee and get the sim that way, or they can sign up for Xbox Game Pass, pay a monthly subscription fee, and get it that way. So when you look at our players by platform, the largest number of users are on the Windows Store and Xbox, and that is due in part because they can access it through Game Pass. The Xbox or xCloud audience is a little smaller than those two, and they can be, they're accessing it maybe a different way. They can either play on low-end PCs, they can play on last-gen consoles, or they can even play on mobile. Now, Steam, the line in orange, has had historically the lowest volume of players, and that's really because they are gated behind a pay gate, right? They have to pay upfront, but they are a consistent and really growing audience for us. And overall, this is what you want to see, like a really solid band of users that are coming back on a regular basis. Oh yeah, the clicker's working. All right, so now we'll pivot over to the marketplace audience, so who's actually paying for content. And I'll talk to you about the size, the geography of where these payers live, what platforms they're buying on, and what kind of content they're buying. So how many are there? So I'm here to announce today how exciting that we've had over 1 million people purchase content in the sim, which is thrilling for us. Now we talk about pay rates, so that's the percentage of people that come into the sim who actually purchase content. They could purchase just one item and they would be considered a paying player, right? So if you look at the percentage of players that are paying for content, you can see we've been just slowly increasing that percentage over time as we've added more and more content to the sim. You'll also see spikes in pay rates when we run our platform sales. We have 4 tentpole sales that we run each year, and that really drives a lot of pay rate increases. And then one thing to notice here is that we had a really, the high watermark for pay rates occurred in April 2023. We had a conversion of 4 events happening at the same time that really drove that spike. So we had a spring sale we were running. We also introduced WASM, so we could bring more planes to the Xbox audience. We also had a plane where we gave the proceeds to charity that was wildly popular. And last but not least, we introduced a discount for first-party planes if players owned a premium version of the sim. So that really spiked there in April 2023. Now, if you look at the orange line, that's Steam again. It has historically been the highest monetizing audience as far as the percentage of players that purchase. And again, that's because they've already self-selected and said, I'm willing to pay, I've paid up front for this game, so they're a little more willing to pay. But we launched on Xbox almost a year after, and as we've added content to that marketplace as well, we've seen pay rates continue to increase. Now, it has overtaken the Steam audience here in the last 2 months, April and May. They've had higher conversion rates. And, the Xbox audience for all Xbox games has really been a high-value audience for us. And that holds true for the players that are playing Flight Simulator as well. So we've got 1 million purchasers. How much are they spending? 58% of the audience has spent $50 or less. We've got 24% that have spent over $100, and we almost have 40,000 players who have spent more than $500 in the sim life to date. There's probably some of you even here in the room, so thank you for that. Now, where are these payers coming from? Where do they live? When we look at it by continent, it's probably not surprising to most of you that it's split between North America and Europe at 43%, and then followed very far behind with Asia at 6%. As far as our reporting to our creators, we're hoping to add country-level information so you can see that on a regular basis going forward, but I don't have any timing to announce on that yet. Now, what are they buying when they're in the marketplace? With Flight Sim, it's not surprising that 42% of purchases are for aircraft. What might be a little more surprising is that the catalog, only 24% of the catalog is aircraft, so it really shows how people care about aircraft. And this is just an overall combined of all the platforms. It does vary by platform. So on the Windows Store, that audience is more open to non-aircraft purchasers. Their aircraft percentage is 37%. And then on the Xbox and xCloud, they are more focused on aircraft. The Xbox audience, 45% of their purchases are planes, and 51% of purchases on xCloud are for planes. All right, let's bring it home. We'll just give you a quick view of revenue here. So we've had consistent players. I've shown you the chart. We've seen those consistent players, and I've showed you the increase in pay rates that we've seen over time. And that just really equates to growing revenue all up for us. We've been able to deliver double-digit growth every year since we launched. What's probably most surprising for us is this Xbox percentage of our revenue. You know, we launched over 40 years ago, PC-only title. So we weren't sure how this market was going to perform and whether they were willing to pay. In 2023, 36% of our revenue came from the Xbox audience, which is awesome. And for those of you that are in the marketplace, you know that the royalty rates we provide are better on our platforms. And the good news is that our platforms make up 67% of the revenue as well. All right, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about pricing. For add-on developers, that's one of the decisions you need to make when you're ready to release content. What price do you want to set it for? And it's also very intertwined with the quality of the content. So let me just share some more information here. First, I'm going to talk just about user research. So we regularly conduct surveys of our team, or of our users. So we did a survey, we do them all the time, but the two I'm sharing here, we did one in January 2021, and then we just did another one this month. And we asked people, you know, are you buying content in the marketplace? Like, the great news is, in between that time frame, we took the no's down from 64% down to 19%, which is amazing. But of course, we're going to focus on the negative for a moment. What about that 19% that hasn't purchased? Why don't they want to purchase? So the people saying there's no content they want to buy, luckily, that number has gone down dramatically, and that is really due to all the content that has been able to come to our marketplace. We've decreased that percentage by almost 50%. Other feedback we've had is it's hard to find content, or they don't know how to do it. Mabel is going to talk to you a little bit about our new interface. And then sadly for us, the Microsoft team, we have seen an increase in people that desire to purchase content outside of the sim. But what I really want to talk about is this one that has been hovering around 35 to 33% of people that just said the content's too expensive. So we do surveys, and we did one in October 21, specifically for the PC audience, and it's called a Van Westendorp sensitivity analysis, where you give people different price points and you say, is that too expensive? Is that too cheap? And then it tells you the optimal range. So this is specifically for PC players and specifically for airlines only. The optimal range came out to be between $12 and $19. For a more experienced player, that increased, and their optimal range was between $19 and $27. In the chart at the bottom, we also show the results of our Xbox respondents, and the main takeaway here is that the PC audience is willing to spend about 2 to 3 times what an Xbox player is willing to spend, except when you look at more novice players, and then the pricing differential goes away. But that's interesting, right? That's what people say they're gonna purchase, but what do they really do? What are they purchasing? So we look specifically at aircraft by price band. The most popular price band, with about 25% of the volume, is the $15 to $20 range. And a whopping 73% want to spend $25 or less. Now, when you look at it based on user scores, it's not surprising that the higher rated content drives the bulk of the purchases. Over half of the purchases are for content that's rated a 4.1 or higher, and 86% if it's 3.1 or higher. Now, when we combine both of those together, the price and the user scores, you can kind of see where people are landing. What really popped out to me here is that in the sub $20 range, there's just a lot more appetite for content with ratings that are 3.5 or lower, as the expectations for quantity really increase in the higher price points. In the $40 range, there is no content that's purchased that's below a 3.6 user score. And I also think that has to do with add-on developers who are pricing their content appropriately. If they're gonna price their content above $40, they're pretty confident they've got a good quality product. Now, if I shift my focus here and look just at airports, the price bands shift to the lower prices a bit here. The $10 to $15 price point is the most popular, but it's really a normal distribution curve here. I think the most interesting thing is just how the purchases drop off above $20 for an airport. Now, this didn't pop on the other slide, so I wanted to break it out here, but when you look at it by user score, it's just really clear that airports really sell when they are high quality. They need to be a 3.6 or higher. 79% of purchases happen at a 4.1 or higher. There are over 1,800 airports available, so purchasers can just be much choosier with the content that they're purchasing. So since it's a more competitive market, I thought I'd share some heat maps of where these purchases are occurring. Sure, it's not that shocking, but it's really focused on European airports and then a lot of the coast of North America as well. Just digging into Europe a little bit. A lot of focus on Germany, London, Switzerland. Oh, and I have one more thing. So I know it's bad form to talk about money amongst friends, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So I just want to talk a little bit about the economics of bringing your content to our marketplace. When you agree to the marketplace agreement, we tell you the percentage that we'll pay you for your content. That percentage is based on the USD list price of the content. What actually happens is that Microsoft doesn't get the USD list price. We actually accept purchases in all sorts of currencies, so we absorb the currency impact of all of those purchases. So you might think maybe that there are better royalty rates somewhere else, but if you consider that we're paying you off of money that we're not receiving, you can actually add 6 percentage points to what you're getting, and that's actually what you're getting of what Microsoft receives. So just wanted to make you aware of that as you're thinking about where to put your content day and date, because we'd love to have it in our store. All right, I'm going to hand it off to Mabel, who is going to talk to you about 2024. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. So, as Julie mentioned, I am the Microsoft Flight Simulator Marketplace Program Lead. I joined the team just before we launched MSFS 2020 4 years ago. And we started with a handful of items in the InSim marketplace and are currently sitting at almost 4,000 items released. So it's been so wonderful to see the energy and enthusiasm of our creator and player community. And we're just super delighted to be here at Flight Sim Expo with you today. Thank you for joining us. So I will be giving you a high-level overview of the marketplace content in 2024. So here's a first look at the marketplace homepage in 2024. So we heard your feedback on 2020. You want the marketplace to be more streamlined, look less cluttered, and allow content to be found more quickly. So core design principles for 2024 were simplicity, ease of navigation, and discoverability of content. Jorg and Seb have also mentioned our commitment to backward compatibility, and we are bringing 2020 content to 2024 so that Simmers can continue to use the content library that you built in 2020 and add to it in 2024. No need to start from scratch. We're also doing this so that products that developers released in 2020 can carry forward. And you can monetize your content in 2024 based on your existing catalog. So the plan for most 2020 content is to be available in 2024 with some exceptions. The team is focused on making aircraft work because, as Julie mentioned, that is a really big category for us in the marketplace. And there are significant efforts underway, along with automated testing, for airports and sceneries. Some areas where issues may be encountered include add-ons that refer to biomes and missions. So our top priority remains making the content transition from 20 to 2024 as friction-free and easy as possible. So with almost 4,000 items in the 2020 marketplace, how do we bring content over to 2024? So this will be a bit of an involved process, so bear with me as I walk you through it. So Asobo will start by migrating the entire 2020 marketplace catalog to 2024. And it's important to note here that migrating is not the same as releasing. By migrating, we mean that content will be brought over to the 2024 pipeline, but not released. The migrated content will then be made available to the respective developers for functional testing, just like what we do now for 2020. And content must have developer sign-off to be released in the 2024 marketplace. If we don't have developer sign-off, the migrated content is not released in 2024. And all 2020 content submitted going forward will go through the same process. Content carried over from 2020 will be marked 2020 in the 2024 marketplace, as you can see there with the little circles around the content. So for our content compatibility story, we prioritize you, the simmer, and your experience. So continuing with the goal of making things as simple and seamless as possible, your content will follow you both ways. So if for all 2020 marketplace content that you have purchased, you automatically own the migrated version in 2024 if it is available. And on the flip side, if you purchase the migrated 2020 version in 2024, you also automatically own the content in 2020. So content carried over from 2020 will also be marked 2020 in the 2024 Content Manager. And in addition to content compatibility, both developers and simmers will have more choice in 2024. If you're a content developer, you can choose to make a 2024 version of your 2020 content. You can also choose to offer an upgrade from the 2020 version as free or paid. So if you do make a 2024 version, it will replace the carried over version in the marketplace. And new purchasers can buy the 2024 version at the full price that you set as the developer. And 2020 version owners can still access the carried over version if it's available, but they can also choose to get the 2024 version at the upgrade price that the developer sets. And you can see there by the side-by-side screenshots of what you will see if you're a new purchaser for content versus an 2020 owner who has an upgrade path available. So we can't have a marketplace without our valued partners who create the content. So also want to provide a quick update on our partner program and workflow. If you're a marketplace partner approved for 2020, you remain approved for 2024. There is no need to reapply. Thanks. So we do have a long list of pending applications, as you all may be aware. We are continuing to work through this. Our community team has asked which developers you would like to see on the marketplace, and your feedback helps improve our review and approval process, so thank you for that. And of course, it's provided the developers called out have applied to our program. And the content process for our partners is being streamlined for 2024, which will be covered in the next part of this presentation. And last but not least, we have a few things becoming available in late September 2024 that we'd like to share with you today. So we'll have the 2024 SDK and build. We'll have the 2020 migrated content available for partner testing. And we will also have the submission pipeline for 2024 content, for which I'll hand off to Todd to go into more detail.
Hello, everybody. As George said, I am with the Marketplace Partner Program team. We are responsible for developing the tools and the processes that are used to ingest content and get it into the InSim marketplace. So I'm going to talk about some of the improvements that we're making in that process, to streamline and help you get your content into the marketplace faster. Just curious if I could have maybe a show of hands, how many of you are approved marketplace developers? Okay, so kind of a 50-50 mix. Well, if you're interested in the program, you can see here on the main flight simulator website, there's a link to apply to the program. And you can also get to that sign-up flow from Partner Center. You can see the link there, kind of in the left-hand side, the Microsoft Flight Simulator Partner Program. Okay, so those of you who are approved partners are familiar with the website. We call it the Marketplace Content Portal, MCP for short. How many of you get the reference? Tron? Monitor Control Program, okay. So this is where you can upload your content and keep track of the content that you've previously uploaded. And then you can also monitor the progress of your content through the testing process, ingestion and testing process. Now, you're also aware that the functional testing is the responsibility of the partner. So we have the UI here where you are informed when your content is available to you in your segment and ready for you to sign off. So once that's available to you, you will test it on your side, and then you will sign off on the content once it's complete. Now, as with 2020, your content packages will be uploaded through MCP. And we're working on improving what we call the validation that happens. So things like, invalid characters and file names or incorrect thumbnail resolutions will be caught earlier in the process instead of having, to get informed through Teams. You'll find out as soon as you upload. So you'll get that immediate feedback. Unlike in 2020, where much of the process, the ingestion process, is manual, the entire process in 2024 is going to be automated. This means you'll be able to iterate faster, your content will be available to preview in the game and to test almost immediately. Now for Xbox, with WASM, there still is going to be some turnaround time to process the WASM, but we are also making changes to shorten that time. So, instead of taking over a week, as it currently does, it'll be much faster than that. So what this means is there's no waiting for Microsoft to hand the content back to you to test it. You'll be able to perform your testing and ensure that the content is ready to be released on your own, time frame. Now, one big change to the process for 2024, if you recall, in 2020, you author your marketplace, we call the metadata, in the project editor in the SDK, and then that's exported as part of the package that's submitted to the MCP website. And here you can see a screenshot where we pull out some of that data just to validate the data and indicate, if there's any issues like, the title doesn't have the iCow in it for airports, for example. In 2024, all of the marketplace data entry is moving to the website, is moving to MCP, so that will no longer be done in the SDK or in the project editor. So you'll enter the title, your price, description, categories, tags, and also add your thumbnails, manage your thumbnails here. What this means is you'll be able to submit your content packages separate from the marketplace data. And if you have to make changes to the marketplace data, if you do have a problem with a thumbnail or you want to change the price, you don't have to re-upload the entire content package. So, we think that'll greatly speed things up. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, you'll be testing your content prior to submitting it, okay? The content will be ingested automatically, you can do your testing, and then when it's ready, you'll submit a release request. At that point, that will kick off the process on our end with our test teams, our QA, and the content will be automatically released once that process is complete. So this will reduce all the time lost currently, to going back and forth through teams, on issues that get discovered and then resubmissions that have to take place. So we're hoping to, again, this will greatly speed up the process. Once you submit that release request, that's it, you're done. The content will show up when it gets through the pipeline on our end. Okay, so that's the main flow. There are some additional improvements that we're planning to make using through the Marketplace Content Portal. One of the big ones will be sales. As some of you know, right now the process for handling sales is also very manual. You have to submit a request through Teams, or you receive an invitation through Teams. and then you provide the information about which products you want to put on sale, how much, so on and so forth, all done, manually. That will all move into the MCP website, and you'll be able to handle all of that, more in a more streamlined fashion. Hanger descriptions, which are the text that shows up in the hanger once a user has purchased the product. These are written by writers on our side and then handed off to the developer to be included in the package. And then when localization takes place, there's another handoff that has to happen that can be somewhat tricky, and problematic. That's all going to go away. We're going to be implementing a centralized database for the hanger descriptions, and you'll just include a reference in your package to the description. So that should ease a lot of the pain and suffering as well. And then finally, for user access to MCP, we'll have the ability for you to add users, have some controls over who can do what without having to go through teams when you want to add more people, give more people access to your content management. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm back. Hello. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. This was an experiment, just to be super clear, right? We're like, hey, we don't ever talk about the marketplace. Understand? I was just talking with Evan about the chat. Some people are like, hey, I'm a gamer, why am I launching this? And then some other people are like, hey, I'm a developer, this is great information. So I think we're just, in general, we want to be very transparent with everything, and we want to have a dialogue. So this is a dialogue. This was an experiment. Give us some feedback in the chat. We will read it all, like always. I would say, from my perspective, the marketplace stuff is super important for a couple of reasons. Like, so I look at the first slides that Julie showed, for example, about, hey, this is all about, for example, North America and Western Europe. Should it always be that? I can tell you, like when I chatted yesterday about the 38 world updates that are currently planned, or 28 to go basically, or whatever. That's mostly focusing on other places, South America, Asia, and we will bring new markets to flight simming, which I think is really important, and it might mean something to y'all. The other things, I hope you like the new UI. There was a sneak peek. It's pretty slick. The other thing that was said, I don't know if you caught it. I was sort of joking back there because I was sitting back there. I was like, I think there was a soft announcement when we're shipping the SDK. So the target actually is, and I think Mabel said it, end of September, we should have the SDK in your hands if you're a developer. So that gives you enough time. Yeah, and I think that's basically it. Give us some feedback. This is not going to be a one-off. We're going to have that marketplace team give dev Q&As, kind of like what we do. We need to have more dialogue. I think it's been too one way or no way even. So please participate in that. It might be, I don't know, might be quarterly or something. We haven't really quite figured it out yet. But anyways, I hope you liked it. Thank you so much for coming, and have a great rest of the Expo.
Nope, nothing like that, dude. No, they didn't talk. Man, you know what? Let me turn my light on. Hang on a second. I was really looking forward to this marketplace. Like all weekend, I was looking at this one. I was like, man, I can't wait for the marketplace. They're gonna have some good shit. They're gonna say, you know what? It's not gonna be 1,000 different developers anymore that you're buying from. It's all gonna be under Microsoft Fsexpo. We don't need them to partner with us, but we do want to put our stamp of approval on everything to make sure everything, works properly. Nope, nothing like that. Nothing like that. It would keep me busy. That's it. That's for sure. There's plenty more I want to buy, but I'm really trying to hold off, I think, on buying stuff until 2024 comes out. As difficult as that is for me to do, I know I just bought an airplane a couple of days ago, but shit, that was only $5. Yeah, it was a useless showcase. I wanted them to put their stamp of approval on everything, and also make sure that we don't get, absolute rubbish, absolute crap for, you know, like so many things I bought on the marketplace that just do not work the way they're supposed to. And you don't find out that it works, that it's broken really until after you buy it. Like, that's bad. Like, they need to fix that kind of stuff. I've had a handful of airplanes that don't work properly at, you know, when I bought it, and it was a known issue, but they still sell it anyways. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna jump off here. There's one more thing coming up, one more presentation. I don't know if I'm gonna. There might be a part 2 if it, you know. I know I put it in the title, but titles can always change. But taking your home cockpit's wiring and cable management to the next level, I mean, that might be interesting. And then, you know, there might be some good shit. So I'm probably going to put these 2 on when I come back. I have a couple of things I need to do personally. And then I'll be back a little bit later. And then, yeah, man, we'll probably stream tonight too. I mean, we haven't flown an airplane in a few days. And we might do that even though it's Sunday night, usually Sunday nights for other games. But we might pick up the flight stick tonight and do some damage. So yeah, I'm very upset, man. I'm very upset at this particular showcase. I was very much looking forward to hearing them fix what's broken on this, and I didn't hear anything like that. You know, it really, the first part was, you know, that bland ass bitch sounded like she was, you know, giving a summary to the you know, board of directors, you know, and then we had the other lady come up who just said useless stuff, and then the last guy was more useless stuff. Like I think I really wasted like an hour of my life watching that presentation. Like that's an hour of my life I am never getting back, and I learned nothing. The only thing I learned is that these people really don't enjoy their job, because you could hear it in their voice. Like when somebody enjoys their job, like if you listen to like the guy who went over the AI ATC on Friday night, who was talking about the artificial intelligence air traffic control you know, software he developed, you know, or at least his team developed. He was really excited. Like he was, you know, like I sound right now, like excited. Like he was like, well, you know, blah, 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 the numbers and the Steam community and blah, blah. Anyways, all right, I gotta run to the vape shop. I gotta get some dinner for the kids, and I'll be back a little bit later. It does suck. It does suck. Well, when they said Xbox was like 36% of the marketplace, I was just thinking to myself, damn, I'm probably a good 30% of that 36. Because I bought them I bought so many things. I one day I may add up everything that I bought, and I'm probably gonna heavily drink after I look at that number. All right, I'll be back probably about an hour. You know, if you join again, great. Yeah, part 2 is not going to be anywhere as long as this. Part 2, you know, we'll maybe look at a little bit from this morning that we missed, and then look at the last 2 presentations, and that's about it. So hopefully I will see some of y'all soon. If not, I will check y'all out next time. Please subscribe, become a member, super chat, super thanks, leave a thumbs up, comment, whatever the fuck. Do something. Don't leave and do nothing. Leave and do something. All right, I will see y'all later on, my friends. See y'all soon. See ya.